At 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you. Bulletins on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel. I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Britain is set to sizzle.
Yes, as temperatures soar above 30 degrees in the first major heat wave of the year.
But while millions prepare for sunshine and bank holiday getaways, officials are warning of travel chaos, particularly at Dover, and a likely surge in small boat crossings across the Channel.
Oh, dearie me. And with long queues, packed roads and scorching temperatures on the way, is Britain ready for the summer rush?
And, of course, we've got breaking news there that fresh attempts by illegal migrants to cross the English Channel this morning. It follows the arrival of almost 400 yesterday.
Meanwhile, families could soon face tourist taxes of up to £300 on UK staycations as councils across England look to cash in on summer holidays.
Meanwhile, Jeremy Clarkson and farming's biggest stars are giving the traditional country show a modern makeover at the Great British Farmfest. We'll be there live just after 9.
A tech CEO fires his entire HR department, claiming they created problems that didn't exist. So this morning we're asking, is human resources a waste of human resources?
And a Dutch town is launching a heartfelt search for the British soldiers who helped to liberate it during the Second World War. They're determined to prove that the sacrifice they made has not been forgotten.
And also, John Nichol's last book, Blitz, retells the horror of Britain's wartime bombing campaign through the eyes of survivors, while asking whether the country still has the resilience to withstand crisis today. We'll speak to him later on.
A very good morning. Thomas Tuchel has doubled down on his decision to axe England's big names from their World Cup squad, and Pep Guardiola announces his departure from Manchester City, saying the club needs new energy.
We're starting the day with some patchy cloud, even the odd shower. However, it is going to turn increasingly sunny and increasingly hot. This bank holiday weekend could be record-breaking as far as May temperatures are concerned. Full details in the forecast coming up soon.
It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Mark White.
And I'm Anne Diamond. And this is GB News Breakfast. So what's going on with the football? Why is he dropping all the big names? Isn't that why people go?
Yes, but he believes that teams win championships rather than individuals. We have a problem in this country. We've had it for decades. Mark, you'll be able to know. You'll remember when they shoehorned or crowbarred players in who were half fit, players who weren't in great form.
Players who thought they were actually the stars of the show rather than the team.
Yeah, don't go back to David Beckham's era. I mean, lots of players said on the quiet that he picked the team. So it's not just about big names. Look, don't get me wrong, there's so much talent in there. There are plenty of big names. There's enough star quality to make a splash at this tournament, but something has to give. I remember France back in the 90s, they had 3 names that all of us would have heard of. David Ginola.
Yes.
Zinedine Zidane, Eric Cantona.
Yes.
Right? 3 into 1 didn't go.
Yeah.
And he had to make a decision. Amy Jacquet, the coach, he got rid of Ginola and he got rid of Cantona. Cantona actually retired a year before France 98. He put all his eggs into the Zizou basket and it won them the World Cup in Paris in the summer of 98. I'm not saying it's always that simple, but when the maths doesn't work, a decision has to be made. Thomas Tuchel has done that and I think we should back him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's see if it works.
Either be inspired or it'll be a complete disaster.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. One way or the other. I tell you what, though, at the moment, if you like the hot weather, it's rather nice to be able to say it's getting warm, isn't it, out there?
I'd love it more if I had air conditioning in the house. That's still something we don't have in this country.
Last year. I had air conditioning put in.
Yeah, I think that's inspired. Yeah. That is actually the best.
It's worth it. Oh, gosh, it's wonderful. Yeah. Can't tell you how good it is.
I got a portable air conditioner. You have to set it up, shove this big
thing out the window.
Hose out the window. Yeah. It's such a palaver every time you have to do it.
It's going that way. It's expensive to do. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. But it's just such a luxury. I can't tell you. And of course, in the winter, you can switch it to warm.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
How long did it take to fit it, to have it installed?
A day.
Really?
Yeah, if that. Oh, no, I can recommend it, but it is expensive, but it's one of those luxuries you may consider, especially if you win the Great British Giveaway, for instance.
I'll tell you about that later.
Yeah, absolutely. So, tell us about the weather.
Yes, hot. Yesterday was officially the warmest day of the year so far, and it's not looking to be easing up anytime soon.
Yes, in fact, the UK is set to welcome a heatwave next week, with temperatures across the nation expected to go above 30.
And if you're planning on getting away this bank holiday weekend, you may want to think again.
Yes, because a heatwave, as it arrives, there will also be a rail strike and engineering work. And they're going to make getting around by train more and more difficult, forcing people onto the already crowded roads. That's no way to spend the bank holidays.
No. Meanwhile, families heading for Europe, well, they face long queues due to the new EU entry-exit system. It's just never-ending. Whether, of course, if there are airports or they're going across the port of Dover or whichever route they're going, it's going to be,
Well, to guide us through all this chaos, or at least to tell us where not to go, is travel expert Simon Calder. Good morning, Simon.
Where are you this morning, Simon?
Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Anne. I am in beautiful Dover. It is a fabulous morning here. Really calm seas, which could actually explain why we're probably expecting a few visitors later on today. But unfortunately, if you are one of the 8,000 families who are heading abroad this morning, well, during the rest of the day from here, getting the ferry from here to either Calais or Dunkirk, well, you are in for a wait. I am looking across here, and there are cars waiting all the way back down the A20, which goes into the town of Dover. But ahead of me, I can see probably 1,000 cars. They've been here since dawn. The port is saying that the buffer zone, which is the bit, if you know Dover, between the roundabout here and the actual French frontier post, you're going to be stuck there for an hour. Normally, they would be hoping to process about 800 cars an hour. I am not seeing anything like that rate at the moment. And I'll tell you exactly what the issue is. Over the other side of Dover, they have spent £40 million building a fantastic facility at which you, as a motorist, and the contents of your car, i.e. your family, will turn up. You have the 4 fingers of your right hand taken for your biometric and a facial biometric. Then you get into the car and you drive around here and off you go. That is not working yet. And it's not Dover's fault. The French IT isn't working. So instead of that, I'm afraid, what you are going to have to do is to just wait in this long queue where, and if you've been over from Dover, you will know you've got the French frontier checks. They will have a look at your passport. They will collect all the details, and that is what is adding the time. So at the moment, once you get to the kind of realm of Dover Eastern Docks, you're in for an hour's wait. But that, I'm afraid, looks very likely to build during the day.
That is miserable, and you'd think that there would have been some forward planning that could have avoided it.
Oh, there is huge amounts of forward planning. My goodness me, the bosses of Dover have been locked into discussions. How are we going to avoid gridlock over the bank holiday weekend? Yesterday, for instance, where there were about 6,000 vehicles, families going abroad, they managed with delays of up to 2.5 hours. Today is definitely going to be the busiest day. But unfortunately, the entry-exit system, which became common everywhere across Europe on the 10th of April, this is the first test, and it's not going very well. And if you're setting off shortly to go to an airport, you're flying to Europe, well, you simply don't know what awaits you. If you're flying to Greece, they'll probably just have a quick look at your passport. Anywhere else, it could be fingerprinting and facial biometrics, even though you've already had both of them done, and you're only supposed to get both of them done on your first crossing. So it's all in all, if you're going to leave the country, it's a mess. If you're staying here, it's not much better, I'm afraid.
And of course, that's those that are getting away for a short break. But briefly, Simon, in terms of freight traffic, of which, you know, on any given day there are significant numbers of lorries crossing, I take it we're in Operation Stack mode. And of course, that adds to just the slow progress that you make on the main M20 anyway.
Yes, Operation Brock, this contraflow system on the M20 is in place. If you are a truck driver, then actually once you're allowed to queue up here on the A20, then you get in about 20 minutes or so. Yeah, it's pretty grim. They've even got a holding area, a racetrack, some way back down the road where they can, if necessary, put families and kind of keep them provisioned with water and stuff if the queues get really, really long. The Kent Medway Resilience Forum is doing just that. But at the moment, I'm afraid, just hope for the best. Be prepared for delays and disruption. No issues that I'm seeing at Eurotunnel down the road, or indeed London St Pancras International. Those are the two other places in the UK where French officials have a look at your passport first.
Fancy new Operation Brock. It used to be Stack in my day. Why did they change it around, Simon?
That's beyond my pay grade. Most things are, Mark.
That'll be human resources that came up with that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a bit later. Tell you what then, Simon, go off and get an ice cream or something to cool down, and we'll join you a bit later on in the programme. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Simon.
Now, talking of great weather and looking at Dover and everything, calm seas, what does that mean?
Well, Simon alluded to it there that there are likely to be some visitors. What he means are illegal migrants breaking into our southern border across the English Channel.
Yes, it's breaking news that there are, as you know, fresh attempts now, literally happening now, by people smugglers trying to launch migrant boats into the English Channel this morning as we are facing a heat wave and calm seas. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, well, if you're watching on GB News Television, you're seeing images brought to us by our producer in Kent. These are images from the beach cameras that are down in Dunkirk, Marlow Beach there in Dunkirk. And you can just see some of dozens of illegal migrants who were attempting to get on two boats. Now, interestingly, Anne, these boats came from Belgium. We've been hearing a lot about the real concerns that the Belgian authorities have, that this has become the new epicentre of the migrant crisis, that because there are significant resources now, it seems, police resources around particularly the beaches in Dunkirk and Calais, the problem is shifting to the south, Boulogne and further south. And in fact, yesterday, when almost 400, 390-ish migrants came across yesterday on that illegal journey. They had come over from south of Boulogne and north of Boulogne, so they've gone away down the other. It's a game of whack-a-mole.
Yes,
you know, they're doing it all the time.
So the people we were seeing there, have they been pulled out off a dinghy?
No, what's happened is that we've had at least 2 launches this morning from Belgian beaches, and what happens is you get a dozen or two who are on these boats, because they're big, heavy things. We call them small boats, but actually they're 30, 40 feet long and, you know, they weigh a ton. So you need quite a few people to manhandle them down on the beach into the water. So you get a dozen or two illegal migrants who are on the boat to begin with. Then it follows the coastline down from Belgium to areas like this Marlow Beach in Dunkirk.
To pick up more?
Where, yeah, maybe 50-odd migrants are waiting on the beach. They wade out into the water to try to scramble on board. Now, either that attempt has been unsuccessful because they've not been able to marry up, the people smugglers, the migrants there on the beach with the boat, or more likely some of the law enforcement on the beach have intervened to try and disperse these migrants and push the boats away. So what we think is that there are 2 failed launches this morning that have come down from Belgium and tried to pick up migrants in the Dunkirk area. But we think maybe at least one of those small boats with probably a dozen or 2 migrants on board is still there. That will probably try and make its way to the UK, just with those who are on board.
I mean, are those people being arrested or what?
No, and this is the thing. They're never arrested. So they are basically led away. Some of them are checked if they've been in the water, poor things, up to their ankles. And then, you know, they are just let go. And this is the thing about, you know, all of the French law enforcement that are there, Anne, to try and stop this. All they're ever doing is delaying it because
they'll have another go.
Yeah, they just disperse it, go back to their migrant camps, they meet up with the smugglers again, and then tomorrow or the next day or whenever it is, they go onto another migrant boat.
Well, look, let's talk, a very good morning to you. Let's talk to former Immigration Minister Kevin Foster. I wonder what you feel like, Kevin. On the one hand, we think, oh, it's a lovely, glorious bank holiday and we're getting the weather that should go with it. But, of course, this just leads to more and more people trying to cross the Channel.
Yes, good morning, Anne. The Home Office Immigration Minister is always the one person in the country hoping for wind and rain, particularly across the southeast, because once the wind gets up, the weather's waves in the Channel, and that means small boats cannot cross. But, you know, we are seeing, again, attempts come across. I think Mark's summary there was very good about what we are seeing before us is people will make the attempt, and even if they don't succeed, most times they're just shepherded off the beach. You know, they're not arrested, they're not detained, they're not even actually asked, you know, do you want to claim asylum here in Belgium or France, which would rather, you know, undermine a claim here in the UK that you had to come here for protection if when you were in a safe and democratic European country, you didn't wish to claim it because you prefer to be somewhere else. So, you know, this is an ongoing issue. And whilst numbers overall are down this year, we do have to look at the fact the weather was pretty awful at the start of this year, and we're now entering the peak season for people to attempt to cross the Channel. And really, there won't be any ability to see if any of the measures the government's taken over recent months have worked, really until we get to September, October, where you come more as the winter weather starts to arrive to see whether they've had much effect on overall numbers or whether, as Mark's just put it well, you know, this just delayed people making their crossing.
I think you raise a very interesting point there, Kevin. We have had, and it's not the rain, it's not whether it, you know, the sun shines or it rains, it's those winds, you know, the winds that are responsible for churning up the Channel, making the journey impassable for these flimsy dinghies. But we've had a couple of days when, you know, with our producer who's expert on all these things based down in Kent, we had expected significant numbers to cross and they didn't. So we've been wondering, look, has there been some kind of success in terms of law enforcement action to disrupt some of the supply lines? That might be true, but the people smugglers, as you know, Kevin, will always adapt and overcome. So I've got my eye on this weekend in particular because it's at least 4 good days. If we get very significant numbers crossing, I think that just tells us, Kevin, that, you know, whatever the government says it's doing, it's clearly not working.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right to say a sustained period of good weather to see if the gangs have managed to adapt some of their tactics to, you've touched on one already, is the fact that some now seem to be gyrating towards Belgium away and towards beaches slightly further to the south in France to avoid some of the measures that have been put in place, particularly around the Pas de Calais. But overall, with this issue, there's never going to be one single solution to it. You know, you do need to look at a broad strategy, and in particular, what happens when people arrive here in the UK? Because if there's no prospect of being removed from the UK, let's say, for example, you're an Afghan national, even if your claim is declined, then that acts as a big magnet to come here, because, you know, their goal is to end up remaining in the UK. And that's why when you look at countries that have solved problems like this, for example, Australia and the United States, they've put in place a broad strategy that, yes, includes law enforcement work, but also includes how you do very big focus on what you get when you arrive in the country and how you can be removed from it. Yeah. And at the moment, you know, the government scrapped Rwanda without putting anything really in place to replace it. Yeah, actually, we're now seeing European countries talking about overseas centres for those who failed asylum claims. It can only be a matter of time, really, before the UK follows that path, and potentially what Germany's been doing, which is returning some people to Afghanistan, which we haven't done since the Taliban takeover 5 years ago.
One of our viewers has just emailed in and said, this is heartbreaking. Really, it's heartbreaking because we've talked about it and watched the boats come over for so long now, and we've heard all the slogans and nothing seems to work, or nothing. It's almost like it's just indolence almost. I don't know. It's just not working. I
just wish, Kevin, your Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, had not gone to the electorate when he did and tried to give the deterrent with Rwanda some time. He didn't do that. We'll never know now if that system would have worked. And I suspect, had it been 100% of those coming across for a period of time, you'd have smashed the business model.
Absolutely, Mark. I think most people know I'm not the biggest fan of Mr. Sunak, and you're absolutely right to say it, that he should have given an opportunity for Rwanda to actually be seen to work. Because the moment it was announced, we actually started to note the numbers start to cross, and that was under when Boris was Prime Minister. But actually the sight of a plane to load of people taking off to Rwanda would have been quite a symbolic moment for a lot of people thinking about whether to pay a trafficking gang to come to the UK. So yeah, it would have been better to have done it, but, you know, Mr. Sunak didn't seek my counsel before calling election, or that of many other people. But we can see that countries which have adopted that type of approach, and, you know, the United States is the latest to do so. In fact, I think they're even looking at using Rwanda itself. Yeah, that has made a difference. But yeah, it's something we don't know absolutely whether it would work, but we know from the moment we announced it, the numbers started to fall. It gave a solution and an answer to that core question of what you do with people who have arrived in the UK that you do not want here in the UK. The country they've left, France predominantly, won't take them back, but their home country is a country that either just point blank refuses to take immigration returns, or is a country that you couldn't deal with the regime concerned in that country. So that's what a Rwanda plan answers. And I always have a feeling, Mark, that at some point we are going to see the Labour Party have to look at something like that, because, you know, with all the debates going on about their leadership and their polling position, really, there's a lot of things they cannot do unless they resolve this issue, not come up with another slogan. And, you know, the viewer's absolutely right that, you know, we've had smash the gangs, we've had stop the boats. What people would actually just want now is a solution, not just another clever marketing strategy.
Exactly. Yeah,
absolutely.
Kevin, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, and it's going to be lovely weather this weekend, and we all know the downside of that. And it's sad, isn't it? Terribly sad that nothing seems to be working. Right, well, let's at this time, what is it, 6:21 already? In fact, it's just going to turn to 6:22 as I speak. Let's have a look at some of the other stories coming into the newsroom right now.
And children are now more likely than working-age adults to live in private rented homes. The new research from the Resolution Foundation shows the number of children renting has nearly tripled over the past 25 years. The think tank says young families are being priced out of home ownership, with one analyst warning the private rented sector is becoming less a pit stop and more a permanent home for millions across Britain.
Conservationists are warning more than 70,000 man-made barriers are disrupting rivers across the UK, with weirs and dams blamed for harming wildlife, trapping, pollution and blocking fish migration. It's an organisation called Wild Fish that says many of the structures are old, redundant and present a huge problem for river health. But they say removing them can restore waterways and bring fish back within hours.
The National Trust has unveiled the winning design to transform the illegally felled Sycamore Gap tree in a new public artwork. The People's Tree by Helix Art and George King Architects will use the tree's timber in a UK-wide project inviting people to share personal stories and reflections on nature after the tree's felling, of course, sparked national outrage in 2023.
Well, let's find out what the weather has got in store for you. Let's hope it's good news, in whichever way you want to look at it. Here's Aidan.
Spoiler.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there, welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. 30 Celsius today, and believe it or not, today is the coolest day of the bank holiday weekend. Some patchy cloud first thing, but increasingly sunny and increasingly hot. Perhaps the odd shower during the next few hours across East Anglia in the southeast as this area of cloud moves out of the way. And then still some showers tickling parts of the northwest of Scotland through the day, generally light and fleeting. Cloudier for Northern Ireland, Scotland and Northern England. Temperatures not particularly exceptional here, high teens, low 20s. But come further south, and those temperatures are rocketing. We're looking at widely low to mid 20s and high 20s, up to 30 Celsius towards East Anglia and the southeast. High UV. Make sure you are bearing that in mind if you're spending time outdoors. But for Scotland, the cloud cover fairly continuous into the afternoon, breaking up a little by evening, showers tending to fade. And for many parts of the UK, yeah, it's cooler and cloudier in the north, but it's a fine start to the long weekend for the vast majority. Settled with high pressure in charge, and despite some high-level cloud across central parts of the UK, plenty of bright skies to end the afternoon and go into the evening. Clear spells then continue overnight. We will see a weak weather front bring some showery rain once again into the northwest of Scotland and thicker cloud overnight for Northern Ireland as well as Scotland. Highly variable temperatures overnight, some cool spots where we've got shelter from the breeze, but yeah, in some places, like London for example, temperatures staying up at 18 or 19 Celsius. So head start on Sunday as far as the temperatures are concerned, and widespread sunny skies, certainly a sunnier morning compared with this morning. England and Wales, southern Scotland, blue skies and temperatures really rising quickly. We're looking at high 20s widely, up to 32 Celsius in the south, always cloudier and cooler the north of Scotland.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Well, certainly it's the right time to think about staying put and not going abroad while the weather's so nice. But you could soon face tourist taxes of up to £300 if you choose a UK staycation. We'll bring you more about that next.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Brave.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Morning. Now, how would you feel if you had to pay even more for your summer holiday, even though you decided to take it here in the UK?
Yeah, well, families could face up to £300 in a holiday tax on staycations in a bid to lift up struggling councils.
Around 10 regional mayors in England are considering this overnight visitor levy, which could be devastating for families who are already dealing with rising bills.
Meanwhile, a landmark report warns economic ruin awaits unless we adapt to this anxious generation who are rewired by smartphones.
The Jobs Tsar, I didn't even know there was one, Alan Milburn, claims that greater flexibility and mental health support should be offered to get young people back to work. So just how will that save the economy? Joining us now, former political advisor James Price. There's a lot going on, and it seems to me, doesn't it not seem to you that maybe our politicians are just flailing around trying to find ways of bringing in little bits of money?
Yeah, good morning. You're absolutely right. I'm not sure I could have put it better myself. There doesn't seem to be anybody in this Labour government who understands how economics works at all, but then maybe I'm not surprised that that's the case with the Labour Party. Yeah, I think your characterisation of them flailing around is so good because it's not even been 2 years yet since this government came in after their 14 years in opposition where they were lecturing the rest of us about how if they were in power they would do it all so much better. And they come in and they're coming up with these sorts of little ideas, nibbling around the corners, as you say, as if they are at the very end of several long and exhausting parliaments rather than less than 2 years into government. I mean, your last section, you're talking about people breaking into the country on small boats, having been doing it for years and years and years now. And instead of talking about that as the national crisis that it is, Labour are coming up with saying, well, I know, instead of focusing on that, let's try and make it more expensive for hardworking Brits to go on holiday in Britain. It's completely crackers. And one fundamental principle about taxation is that there's something called Pigouvian taxes, as economists would call it. This is the idea that if you don't want people to do a certain behaviour, smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, something like that, you put up taxes on it. You know, so you see taxes on cigarettes going up all the time and alcohol going up all the time, to try and discourage people from doing it. Well, what happens if you then go and put a tax on people going on holiday? They're going to do less of it. Now, nothing to be said about what happens when you put taxes on people working, because of course we know that happens with jobs and joblessness as well. So this is, I think, just a terrible idea in its own, because we're already more as taxed as we've ever been at any point in our history since at least the Second World War, and people cannot bear it anymore. Labour are not cutting any spending, so it's not like they're going to get their fiscal house in order either. And you're just seeing the kind of patheticness of them, exactly as you say, tinkering around the edges, rather than dealing with any of the big fundamental things that a government with the majority of their size should be able and brave enough to do in the national interest.
More about this a bit later on in the programme, because I know you're coming back, but people will be getting very hot under the collar at that thought. And just as you said, destroy the incentive to stay in the UK and have a holiday by taxing us again. James, thank you so much indeed. Thank you. Right now, I think we've got a daily reflection coming up. I think that's what we need after that revelation.
The GB News Daily Reflection.
Hello, my name is Marjorie and I'm a Baptist leader in Sheffield. There's a moment in the Bible, in Acts chapter 2, where a group of Jesus' followers are gathered in a room. They are not entirely sure about what's coming next. They've just lost the person they were following, Jesus himself, and are waiting. They are uncertain, longing, praying, maybe even a bit stuck. At this point, Jesus has ascended into heaven and they're left with a promise: wait for the power from God. And then it happens. Something unexpected happens. There's this sound like a rushing wind. Something like fire rests on each of them, and suddenly they began to speak in ways they never could before. Everything changes. These ordinary people suddenly find themselves experiencing the Holy Spirit. In the Old Testament, the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of God, comes on particular people in particular places for a particular purpose or reason, for leadership or prophecy. But here, God's Spirit is poured out on all people present. They see strange phenomena, what appears to be like fire and people speaking in different languages. But the real change isn't what they see, it's what happens inside of them. Fear turns into courage, silence into boldness, confusion into clarity, and there is this connection between each other and between the people and God. Pentecost isn't about wind or fire, it's about God's presence. It's the moment when the Spirit of God comes close, no longer reserved for a few people, but given to ordinary people and to everyone. Pentecost points to a God who is alive and yet powerful, and it's an invitation for ordinary people to ask God to reveal himself to us.
A nice moment to pause and reflect.
I remember the word Pentecost, and I was trying to think what it was, and that was a beautiful explanation of it. Thank you.
You're stuck in traffic this morning, waiting to get to a port or whatever, then a moment's reflection's always nice.
Absolutely. Mind you, we are going to talk football next, because the England squad apparently has been announced. Aidan McGee will take us through that next.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time.
But I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Before we move on to the sport, we have some breaking news, actually. Mark's got the latest on what's happening with the small boat crossings.
Yeah, we're expecting very significant numbers over these 4 days. We had almost 400 yesterday, and we've got at least 3 more good days to go in terms of weather. Our producer in Kent is telling us now that one small boat has made it into, we believe, into the open English Channel Sea, and it, he says, is rammed. 2 other boats that have come down from Belgium tried to pick up migrants on a beach in Dunkirk. Those attempts were aborted for whatever reason.
For the moment.
Yeah, for the moment, yeah.
But one is already left and it is rammed.
According to our producer.
Full. OK, well, we'll bring you the very latest as and when that news comes in. Right now, here's Aidan with the very latest on the World Cup team.
Yes, exactly. The squad was named yesterday. I don't know what you thought about how it was delivered, because there was lots of consternation around the fact that lots of players who weren't involved knew on the day before, and it caused them to, because they're feeling emotional, they told their agents briefed the media, it got out on social media. We kind of knew what the squad was going to be.
And they told their mother.
Yesterday. It was very political, but apparently, I mean, this is what Brazil did. Brazil, their coach, Carlo Ancelotti, is very well known on these shores because he managed Everton, Real Madrid and Chelsea, of course. He actually went on TV and announced it live. That was the first time the players knew whether they were in or out. The FA's justification privately for doing it the way they did, as in phoning the players, they made the manager phone the players and deliver the news to them directly if they were not involved. Their justification was that, privately anyway, commercially, was that it allowed them to build some social media content around it as well, which shouldn't be the priority really, but I guess it makes them money. In terms of the standout selections, I mean, Ivan Toney, a player from the Saudi Pro League, in brilliant form, but he left the UK after Euro 2024. I don't have a problem with him as a player. He's a fantastic player, but it just seems very left field considering we were told for so long that the Premier League takes priority over every other player, every other selection you could possibly have, and yet Ivan Toney's bang goals in at the Saudi Pro League. OK, it's not as a competitive a league, but he wants players who are used to that heat, because we're going to be going into temperate conditions in the States and Mexico and Canada and so forth. And he wants someone who's in form, strikers who score goals. The other standout one, of course, was Harry Maguire. He was indeed one of those players who announced or told everybody else before the announcement was made that he wasn't in the squad. He's been involved in the last 3 tournaments, 67 caps as well. And you have to look at Cole Palmer as well. Cole Palmer came on and made a massive impact in the final last time, but there is no denying that Thomas Tuchel said, I want players in form. You look at his form these last 3 seasons, he scored 25 goals in 45 games leading up to the last tournament, so absolutely banging form. Then his level dropped, 18 in 52 matches. This season, 10 in 33. There's been a significant drop-off. You can't ignore that. And the manager has said he's governed by data. Lots of different things feed into lots of different influences that feed into his decisions. And I think we have to back him.
Sure. Well, we'll analyse all that a bit later on as well.
Much more to say.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the Great British Giveaway now. Still plenty of time to grab your chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash. Here's how.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. That is extra cash that you could use to buy those treats you've always wanted, put a new car on the drive, or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. £76,543 and 21 pence is an incredible amount of money, and it could be all yours. For a chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Very good luck. That would make your summer, wouldn't it?
Pay for your holiday tax.
It would be, well, if just about pay the holiday tax, yeah. Kevin Schofield and Duncan Barks will be with us very shortly to go through the papers. First of all, though, here is the European weather forecast.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
A lot of sunny and hot weather across the Med and Western Europe at the moment, especially for Spain and France. Very showery, however, with low pressure close to Greece and Turkey. Long spells of rain for Turkey. Greek islands mostly sheltered from the showers, but heavy downpours for mainland Greece. 1 or 2 showers for Italy, but we come to Iberia and France, and it's unusually hot and sunny during the next few days. Temperatures peaking in France into the mid to high 30s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Colin, it's always an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. And of course, you're wearing your full Chelsea pensioner regalia. It's a resplendent sight. Colin Thackeray. 2/3 of young people don't even know what VE Day is. You know what it is. You lived through it. Tell us, tell the nation how important it is and your memories of that beautiful day.
Well, extremely important to remember and to continue to remember. It means obviously victory in Europe. And it was a great day because everybody was happy and, you know, we all lived through 5 years of war, and it was a smashing time. And I'd rather hope that people will continue to do so.
Do you think the problem now, Colin, is we've got a younger generation who are taught badly, and they're taught often to be ashamed of British history? We talk about slavery, the evils of empire, yet we don't celebrate the genuine heroism of VE Day and people like yourself.
Yeah, it's a shame. You know, 2 years ago, we were in Korea. We went across for a revisit, and I hadn't seen the place for 70 years. And it was extraordinary. The place the school was built up, and the people were marvelous. And every child knows exactly when the war was there, what we were there for. And we were told, I was told by a 9-year-old, it never occurred to me that, look, if you didn't come, we would be living the same as North Korea. That's a shame, isn't it?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Newspaper time. Shall we take a look at some of the newspaper front pages?
Yeah, we're joined by...
Front
we've got to read them
first. Sorry, he's very distracted because he's watching his little map with boats all around it on the channel. But anyway, let's say the
It's
Times.
absolutely true.
It is. The Times is talking about a government review saying that young adults have been rewired by their smartphones. We'll talk about that in a couple of moments.
In the Telegraph, Labour mayors across England are planning to introduce a £300 tax on holidaymakers wishing to travel to Britain's most popular tourist spots.
Yeah, great idea. In The Guardian, the EU has rejected a pitch by ministers to create a single market for goods.
And finally, in The Express, a rape gang victim wants police and care staff who failed her to face a criminal probe.
Well, joining us to go through what's inside the newspaper's politics editor of HuffPost UK, Kevin Schofield, and political commentator Duncan Bart. And it's lovely to see you both.
Morning.
Very much so.
Nearly give you a premature introduction there, but...
It happens to the best of us.
It does. What's all this about?
It's an age thing.
Youngsters having their brains rewired.
Yeah, this is
and
on the front page of the Times. So Alan Milburn, who was a health secretary under the Labour government under Tony Blair, has been asked by the current Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer to look into this quite sizable number. So we almost have 1 million. They call them 16 to 24-year-olds. They call them NEETs, not in education, employment or training. And this number has increased over the last couple of years. So Alan Milburn's been asked by the Prime Minister to try and work out why this is and what we can do to help this almost lost generation, or an anxious generation, as the Times is referring to it, because it appears there's a double whammy here of reasons why we have a lot of these youngsters, I can say that because I'm a middle-aged man, these youngsters who are not working or not in education or whatever. And it's a combination of coming out the back of the pandemic, where they believe there's been some mental health issues, some long-standing mental health issues created. So you've got that going on, but also social media. And, you know, a lot of this generation live their lives and have in the past in this social media bubble. And consequently, we have this massive amount of people who are not working. And what's quite interesting about it, according to the Times, is nearly half of these NEETs have never worked, and 1 in 4 are signed off with a long-term sickness or disability. Of those, 43% say mental health is their main problem, and that's up from 24% in 2011.
What about a boot up the backside?
National service, that's what
National service could be the answer.
Give up your phone for a year,
Yeah.
do a year's national service.
I think it's, if I'm going to be brutal about it, I think it's too easy to blame social media about this. Social media is a 21st century fact of life, right? You know, you need to be on social media for all kinds of reasons. I think the bigger issue about this is the sheer amount of money our welfare bill is costing for people who are economically inactive. And it might sound really harsh, but, you know, it's going up our welfare bill, obviously a word I can't say at this early hour, and the numbers are getting bigger, and some drastic action is required to try and get people off the benefits and back into work. And this is against the backdrop as well of a lot of jobs being replaced by AI. It's quite a toxic combination.
Well, actually, it's interesting, Kevin, because you've chosen from the Mail this story about the UK boss of Amazon says there should be mandatory work experience.
Yeah, well, I mean, this follows on perfectly, actually, from Duncan's story here. So this is John Bountfrey, and apologies if I'm mispronouncing his surname here, but he's the UK boss of Amazon, and he's basically saying that he says it's not a motivation problem for these young people who are not working. It's a system problem. He says that no, and it requires a system response. And what his suggestion is compulsory work experience for kids over 16, which I think is a great idea. You know, get them used to what work is actually like.
Alarm clock Britain.
Yeah, alarm clock Britain. You know, if they are spending all their time watching TikTok videos and, you know...
And getting anxious.
Getting anxious and up half the night, looking at their screens, you know, this would give them a purpose and give them just experiences, and he suggests, of what working is like. I mean, I know I'm a 51-year-old man now, so it was a long time ago, but I did work experience on the local newspaper.
Yeah.
And it totally, like, slapped some sense into me, made me realise what working is like, and I don't think it's a bad idea at all.
Well, I think getting into work as well, you know, if you're not employed, getting into work, you get a sense of pride, a reason to get up in the morning. I was outside the Home Office a few months back. This people carrier pulled up, and out the back came this young man in a wheelchair, very badly disabled, an electric wheelchair, going into work.
Yeah.
And I was so full of admiration for that young man, who obviously felt, you know, that they want to do a job of work, that they can still be useful. So I just don't think there's any excuse for able-bodied people
But I think everybody,
not to get out and do something.
Everybody watching it, one of the best cures for mental health problems of any sort is work.
It is.
Because if you work at a job that often you will find that you enjoy it anyway, but also you are needed. Your work is.
Well, it gives you a sense of purpose, doesn't it? And aside from actually getting experience in a certain discipline or a certain industry sector or whatever, it gives you a reason and a purpose to get out of bed in the morning. But also it gives you experience of dealing with people in the real world, not just in the online world. And this is part of the problem, isn't it? Because I suspect a lot of this anxiety is about, well, I mean, I've worked with people in newsrooms in the last couple of years where the telephone rings and they're young and they're frightened to pick up the telephone because they don't know what to say to people.
Yeah.
That's what we're dealing with, because all of the
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there, welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. 30 Celsius today, and believe it or not, today is the coolest day of the bank holiday weekend. Some patchy cloud first thing, but increasingly sunny and increasingly hot. Perhaps the odd shower during the next few hours across East Anglia in the southeast as this area of cloud moves out of the way. And there's still some showers tickling parts of the northwest of Scotland through the day, generally light and fleeting. Cloudier for Northern Ireland, Scotland and Northern England. Temperatures not particularly exceptional here, high teens, low 20s. But come further south, and those temperatures are rocketing. We're looking at widely low to mid-20s and high 20s, up to 30 Celsius towards East Anglia and the southeast. High UV. Make sure you are bearing that in mind if you're spending time outdoors. But for Scotland, the cloud cover fairly continuous into the afternoon, breaking up a little by evening, showers tending to fade. And for many parts of the UK, yeah, it's cooler and cloudier in the north, but it's a fine start to the long weekend for the vast majority. Settled with high pressure in charge, and despite some high-level cloud across central parts of the UK, plenty of bright skies to end the afternoon and go into the evening. Clear spells then continue overnight. We will see a weak weather front bring some showery rain once again into the northwest of Scotland, and thicker cloud overnight for Northern Ireland as well as Scotland. Highly variable temperatures overnight. Some cool spots where we've got shelter from the breeze, but in some places, like London for example, temperatures staying up at 18 or 19 Celsius. So head start on Sunday as far as the temperatures are concerned, and widespread sunny skies, certainly a sunnier morning compared with this morning. England and Wales, southern Scotland, blue skies, and temperatures really rising quickly. We're looking at high 20s widely, up to 32 Celsius in the south, always cloudier and cooler the north of Scotland.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. Put a new car on the drive or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Good news for some. Britain is set to sizzle.
Yes, temperatures are soaring above 30 degrees in the first major heat wave of the year.
But while millions prepare for sunshine and bank holiday getaways, officials are warning, of course, of travel chaos at Dover and a likely surge in small boat crossings across the Channel.
Yeah, with long queues, packed roads and scorching temperatures on the way, is Britain ready for the summer rush?
And of course there is that breaking news that we now know fresh attempts by illegal migrants to cross the English Channel this morning is happening as we speak. Of course that follows the arrival of almost 400 yesterday.
Meanwhile, families could soon face tourist taxes of up to £300 on UK staycations as councils across England look to cash in on the summer holidays.
Jeremy Clarkson and farming's biggest stars are giving the traditional country show a modern makeover at the Great British Farmfest. We'll be live at just after 9 o'clock.
A tech CEO fires his entire HR department, claiming they created problems that didn't exist. So this morning we're asking, is human resources a waste of human resources?
Thomas Tuchel has doubled down on his decision to axe big names from England's World Cup squad, and Pep Guardiola announces his departure from Manchester City, saying the club needs new energy.
We're starting the day with some patchy cloud, even the odd shower. However, it is going to turn increasingly sunny and increasingly hot. This bank holiday weekend could be record-breaking as far as May temperatures are concerned. Full details in the forecast coming up soon.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Mark White.
And I'm Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast. Well, it was feeling hot, hot, hot yesterday, and it's going to feel hot, hot, hotter today, apparently. Yesterday was officially the warmest day of the year so far, and it's not going to ease up yet.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's great. It's wonderful to have the heat, but if you don't have air conditioning, as of course most homes in this country don't have, then, you know, it can be a bit difficult at this time of year, especially trying to get to sleep.
Absolutely. If you're planning, though, on getting away this bank holiday weekend, you might want to think again. As a heatwave arrives, there's also a rail strike and engineering works. That's making getting around by train much more difficult, forcing people onto the already crowded roads.
Gosh. Meanwhile, families heading for Europe, well, they face long queues due to the new EU entry and exit system, whether at airports, on the continent or at the port of Dover.
Well, joining us now, travel expert Simon Calder, and you're at Dover, aren't you, Simon? You were saying earlier that this is the first big test of the new system.
It certainly is, Anne, and good morning. Yes, I'm here at just by the entrance to Eastern Docks. Let's just remember the entry-exit system is a new digital borders scheme that was introduced by the European Union for all third country nationals. That includes the British, the Americans, Canadians, Venezuelans, and that requires you to have your biometrics checked. On the first crossing of a Schengen area frontier, you should have your four right fingers on your right hand taken and a facial biometric. On subsequent trips, it should just be one of them, probably the face. However, here at the port of Dover, the checks are made before you get on a boat. And unfortunately, while there is a £40 million system ready to go with all those kiosks that you've seen for motorists heading off on their half-term breaks, due to French IT problems, it is not actually working yet. So as a result of that, the French police are doing their checks along at the normal place. If you've been to Dover, you'll know that you drive up and you've got a French officer there, but they're having to take all the passengers' passport details, and that is adding time, as a result of which, well, the queue behind me simply isn't moving, I don't think, at the rate that it needs to in order to get people through. Bear in mind that there's new cars joining this, the back of the queue at a rate of about 10 per minute, and I'm not seeing, unfortunately, cars being processed at that speed. Yesterday, when it was about 3/4 of what we've got today, the waits were up to 2.5 hours. So everyone's hoping that people can get through, but you're not, I'm afraid, going to be just kind of waved through. And therefore, if you are heading for continental Europe, it is going to be a long wait. Not too bad along the coast at Folkestone, where the Eurotunnel shuttle is located.
Why isn't it the same there? I mean, how come that's better?
I think it's simply a question of demand, maybe access as well. They are, last I heard, they had a pretty good day yesterday, no long queues. Dover, of course, absolutely the prime getaway spot for ferries from the UK. You can sail across to Calais or to Dunkirk from here. Loads of trucks as well. And speaking to the police here, while you might be seeing the trucks actually seem to be moving faster than the passenger rather than motorists and families heading away, that's because they've already been queuing about 4 or 5 miles back along the A20. So it's a bit of a muddle. Operation Brock is in place, and they've even got some space at a local racetrack organised just in case things get really bad and families in their cars need to be accommodated, provided with water and so on while they wait. So we're just getting into the worst spell of the morning here, I'm sorry to say, but it's not a great picture.
It's easy to be a bit bemused by this, even make light of this, but actually this is scandalous, isn't it? They've had years to prepare for this.
Yeah, I mean, going back so far that, in fact, the UK was involved in preparing for the entry-exit system because that happened before the Brexit referendum. The EU has had postponed the introduction of it many times, but in April they said, no, we're all ready to go. Now, not everybody agrees. For instance, Greece says, well, we're not going to bother with biometrics for British holidaymakers because we don't want them to have a tough old time. In Italy, particularly Milan, really long waits, and we've seen, sadly, people missing their flights home as a result of that because they simply couldn't get through passport control in time. So it's a mess. the entire travel industry from, I'm guessing, the Port of Dover all the way through to Michael O'Leary, the boss of Ryanair, is demanding that the system is relaxed. You can start again in September is the chorus, when things aren't so busy. But I'm afraid first contact with the entry-exit system at the first peak getaway since the rollout was sort of completed, it's not going particularly well.
Simon, it's always good to talk to you. Thank you very much. Sad slightly that it's sort of negative news on a wonderful sunny day, but that's how life is, I guess. In fact, you might well look at that and think, I'm not going to go abroad. I'm going to stay here in the UK, have a staycation. But now, unfortunately, we have news that's going to hammer that too, because they're thinking, this government is thinking of actually making you pay even more if you decide to stay in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it beggars belief. Families, it seems, could face £300 in holiday tax on staycations in a bid, we're told, to lift struggling councils.
Yeah, now we know that councils are struggling. Around 10 regional mayors in England are considering this overnight visitor levy, which could be devastating for families already dealing with rising bills. Pretty devastating for local hotels and B&Bs and places like that, who expect... they're surely going to get their business affected. Meanwhile, there's a landmark report warning that economic ruin awaits unless we adapt to this anxious generation who are rewired by their smartphones. The job czar Alan Milburn claims greater flexibility and mental health support should be offered to get young people back to work. It's another brilliant idea from this government. I wonder what James Price thinks of it. James, are you there? Yes, you are. Yeah, none of this seems to make very much sense to any of us, because the very argument we use when we are talking about trying to stop the small boat crossings is to remove the incentive. If you remove the incentive for people to take a staycation, then they're going to think of something else or just not be able to afford it.
You've got it in one. As economists would say, you show me the incentives and I will show you the outcomes. And unfortunately, the incentives and outcomes, that has to work in our own normal lives. Exactly as you've been saying, you go and look, do I want to queue at Dover for hours? No, I don't, so I'll go somewhere else, etc., etc. The only time when that doesn't really work is when you're in government and you can borrow other people's money to keep the show on the road long after the rest of us would have to rein in our mad spending. But that doesn't seem to happen with government, because they always spend like drunk sailors on shore leave. No offence to sailors. I'm sure actually they're probably a bit more responsible than this Labour government. And so because they're unwilling and incapable, frankly, with their base to stop spending, again, the amount of profligacy. Look at how much debt that we're in, how much debt we're adding to every year, how much money we spend every year just to service that debt, right? It's well over the defence budget that we spend just to keep standing still, and that gets worse every year. But they are unwilling to deal with that because they think it's mean to stop taxing people, frankly, stop taxing future generations, because that's who's going to be paying back this borrowing. They've got to keep looking for other areas and other ways to raise taxes until the pips squeak. And you can't really get it in regular income anymore. I think they did at one point try and say they weren't going to tax working people. Well, we know that's nonsense, but the jobs numbers are so bad anyway, they can't get around doing that. They raise lots of taxes in lots of other areas, and you're seeing it's getting so bad that people are leaving the country, moving to other places to do it, and they're casting around thinking, who else can we tax? Well, they look out the window, they see the weather's getting a bit sunnier, yep, that's it, we'll tax people's holidays as well. It's completely ludicrous, and it just means that the next government that comes in is going to have even more of a clean-up operation to do than they already have.
Well, James, if this is actually a serious consideration, it shows, doesn't it, that those who are proposing this haven't a clue how economics works. Because, you know, if you're a family, you're considering maybe going off to Mallorca or whatever, that £300 may be the difference between you deciding to go to Mallorca or let's just stay here. It's going to be a bit cheaper. We're guaranteed at least we're not going to get caught up in a flight that might be cancelled because of the crisis over in the Middle East. But if you charge them £300, they're just going to go, well, heck, we'll just go to Mallorca.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it is a serious proposal because this was new legislation announced in the recent King's speech. So they're giving up valuable legislative time that could and should be done for some of the genuine crises, some of which you just mentioned there quite rightly. And instead, they're going to be doing this. And they'll be putting those powers on to local mayors. And I think a few of the Reform and Conservative metro mayors have said, if I'm given this power, I'm just not going to use it because they understand. But others, I suspect, including Andy Burnham, by the way, who is still the Greater Manchester mayor, I think he's very excited about this. And in fact, already he's managed to get around this by having some kind of tourist tax in all but name. So there is a small levy there. So I hope nobody's planning on going on holiday to Manchester over this summer because of it. So again, this is just the bigger, broader problem. They look around and they think, right, how can we squeeze more money out of people? And because to a regular family, as you say, 300 quid sounds like quite a lot of money. But if you're a legislator, if you're someone sat in the Treasury like Rachel Reeves, that, well, I'm already borrowing, £100 billion a year or something, 100 million, I can't remember the numbers now, the 100 billion or so, I think, to service our debt every year. That's just to stand still. That's not to pay down the amount of debt. That's like, the amount that you have to spend on a credit card just to keep from going bankrupt or something. And you might, well, what's a few hundred quid here and there going on? And this is the problem, because we have got totally divorced from any economic reality. And we look at just to really scare people before they go out and enjoy the sunny weather, we might think that the general overall debt that we have is about £3 trillion, which is a number I can't get my head around. I'm not sure if anyone else can. But that doesn't even include a lot of unfunded, what they call liabilities. We don't know how we're going to pay extra costs in the future of the state pension, of the public sector pension. And the numbers can go up as high in the real debt as £12 trillion. Well, when you consider that the economy has not been growing for very long, you consider the potential problems that the world economy might have coming up the road, future conflict with China, all these sorts of issues that would make the Iran issue look like complete child's play. You need to have a government that is getting our house in order, that is paying down those debts, living within our means just the way that everyday families have to do. And instead, you've got Labour doing the opposite and putting it on the backs of people who just want to go on holiday.
OK, James, thank you very much indeed for explaining all. By the way, just because James mentioned that name, let me go into this now, because it's about the Makerfield by-election. That's going to take place, as we know now, on the 18th of June, following the resignation of the Labour MP, Joss Simons. The candidates announced so far, then, are... as you can see.
Well, I wish I could see.
Yeah, I don't think...
Andy Burnham, the Labour Party.
Yeah, Alan Howlin Lord Hope, that he's the official monster raving loony party, of course.
Robert Kenyon from Reform UK.
Rebecca Shepherd from Restore Britain.
Michael Winstanley, the Conservative Party.
And Jake Austin of the Lib Dems. Now, let's have a look at some of the other stories coming into the newsroom this morning.
Yeah, some very concerning news, breaking news out of China, with an explosion at a mine in Shaanxi province, which has killed at least 82 people, with the death toll expected to rise. Chinese state media reports that 247 workers were on site when the gas explosion occurred. Rescue efforts are ongoing and more details are expected shortly.
Children are now more likely than working-age adults to live in private rented homes. The new research from the Resolution Foundation shows that the number of young people renting has nearly tripled over the past 25 years. They say young families are now being priced out of home ownership. And the National Trust has unveiled the winning design to transform the illegally felled Sycamore Gap tree into a new public artwork. It's called The People's Tree by Helix Arts and George King Architects. And it's going to use the tree's timber in a UK-wide project which will invite people to share reflections on nature. Now, what's the very latest? Mark here has been looking at his channel watch.
Indeed. Yeah, fresh attempts by people smugglers to launch migrant boats into the English Channel this morning. 2 failed launches this morning so far. These are small boats that have come out of Belgium. They've come down the coast to the Dunkirk area. I think we got some images that we brought to you a little earlier from the beach cams. in the Dunkirk area. You can see...
Now, what are we seeing now, then?
Yeah, these are groups of illegal migrants who are attempting to get on board what they call these taxi boats that had come down from Belgium, hover just offshore, ankle deep really well, maybe, OK, kneecap deep in water. And then the migrants you scramble on board. So there's been, it seems, some kind of intervention by French law enforcement that scattered them off. They're being taken away. Those are some of the fire service paramedic vehicles there as well, presumably to check some of these individuals over.
But they're not being arrested, are they, or anything
They're not,
like that?
and that's one of the most controversial aspects of what we see here. The police move in to try to disperse them, but no, they don't arrest them. They don't even, in the vast majority of cases, even check who they are. You know, fingerprints, biometrics, ask them if they want to claim asylum in France. They're just let go and they go off to the dunes again, to the migrant camps. They meet up with more smugglers, yeah, and they're back on another boat. Now, the very latest from our producer down in Kent is that, and we can see it on our screen, we're just looking at it here, the French patrol vessel Riddens has a migrant dinghy I say in tow, it's escorting it. Again, this is another controversial aspect, and these migrant dinghies are escorted by the French right across the busy shipping lanes. Now, many people understandably say that, look, that's just facilitating this illegal trade. The French would argue that, you know, they're doing it for safety reasons, one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. But Riddens here, turning off now to cross the English Channel. It's doing currently about 6 knots.
You're saying they're being escorted out into the channel so that they can then continue across?
They're escorted all the way to an area called the Central Separation Zone, which is effectively the demarked halfway point between French waters and UK waters.
Why aren't they escorted back to the, back to the beaches?
Well, the French say it's too dangerous to do that. The French say that they will offer, if the migrants want to be returned to France, then the ability for that to happen. Instead, migrants never want to be, of course, taken on board a French vessel and returned to France. They want to get to UK waters. So they will just escort them right over to UK waters. If they get into difficulty at any point during the journey, then the French are there to intervene. This is what they say they're doing. But the truth of it is, you know, that these boats are given safe passage, effectively, guaranteed they won't be run over by a big oil tanker or whatever, because they're getting escorted to UK waters. Migrants that don't have life jackets are handed life jackets by the French. They're handed bottles of water. It's absolutely an arguable point that what's happening here is the facilitation of this illegal trade.
Yeah. And one of the other things facilitating it is the weather, which is good at the moment, and the seas are calm. Let's find out more about the weather now with Aidan.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there, welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. 30 Celsius today, and believe it or not, today is the coolest day of the bank holiday weekend. Some patchy cloud first thing, but increasingly sunny and increasingly hot. Perhaps the odd shower during the next few hours across East Anglia in the southeast as this area of cloud moves out of the way. And there's still some showers tickling parts of the northwest of Scotland through the day, generally light and fleeting. Cloudier for Northern Ireland, Scotland and Northern England. Temperatures not particularly exceptional here, high teens, low 20s. But come further south, and those temperatures are rocketing. We're looking at widely low to mid 20s and high 20s, up to 30 Celsius towards East Anglia and the southeast. High UV. Make sure you are bearing that in mind if you're spending time outdoors. But for Scotland, the cloud cover fairly continuous into the afternoon, breaking up a little by evening, showers tending to fade. And for many parts of the UK, yeah, it's cooler and cloudier in the north, but it's a fine start to the long weekend for the vast majority. Settled with high pressure in charge, and despite some high-level cloud across central parts of the UK, plenty of bright skies to end the afternoon and go into the evening. Clear spells then continue overnight. We will see a weak weather front bring some showery rain once again into the northwest of Scotland and thicker cloud overnight for Northern Ireland as well as Scotland. Highly variable temperatures overnight, some cool spots where we've got shelter from the breeze, but in some places, like London for example, temperatures staying up at 18 or 19 Celsius. So head start on Sunday as far as the temperatures are concerned, and widespread sunny skies, certainly a sunnier morning compared with this morning. England and Wales, southern Scotland, blue skies and temperatures really rising quickly. We're looking at high 20s widely, up to 32 Celsius in the south, always cloudier and cooler the north of Scotland.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Still to come now. This is an interesting one, particularly if you've ever worked for a company or a big multinational or anything like that. Are human resources a waste of human resources? We're going to be debating that next.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to
stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition, from 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Now, here's an interesting one. The boss of a US tech firm has defended his decision to axe his entire HR team because he said that they were creating problems that didn't exist.
Ryan Breslow, the CEO of payments company Bolt, says he'd scrapped the department to combat the culture of entitlement and complaining across the firm.
So this morning we're asking, are human resources a waste of human resources?
Joining us now is the former UKIP MP, Neil Hamilton, and HR consultant and employment lawyer, Amanda Lennon. Let's go to you first, Neil, if we could. I think we've all come across HR departments that are a bit frustrating, to say the very least, with the demands that they throw your way, modules that you have to sign and take part in that actually you'd get on perfectly fine without them.
Yeah, well, of course, we've created a massive parasitical industry through the introduction of diversity, equality and inclusion, the complications of employment law, etc., etc. Who on earth would employ somebody today if you could get away with not employing somebody? Any small business is going to fight as hard as he possibly can to avoid all the complications that come with employing somebody. So, I mean, it's a job-destroying industry in a way, although it creates massive non-jobs for the people who work in it. And of course, HR departments are stuffed full of people with the kind of mindset which produces the problems which you were referring to a moment ago, Mark. You know, they're trying to protect, I suppose, their employer against the possibility of employment law claims of some kind or another. But in doing that, they'll go overboard. It's the precautionary principle which underlines most of the EU law on health and safety and environmental issues, etc., which we still have on our statute book in the UK despite Brexit. And as a result of that, you know, we have massively reduced the productive capacity of the economy.
Amanda, I'm sorry to be rude to you because it feels as though that's what we're doing. You are an HR consultant. Do we really need people like you?
Well, I would say, of course we do, because that's a large part of my livelihood. But I think it's important to clarify that the Bolt CEO hasn't removed his entire HR team. That business needed to transform to survive, and consequently, I believe they've reduced about 87% of their headcount. So, of course, the HR team they may have had in place previously is not fit for purpose for the size of business they have now. But they still have what they call a people operations team. If you look behind that, you'll see that they're still doing the tasks, the traditional type of HR tasks that many HR teams undertake, for example, supporting employees and training. And I think the other point is this culture of entitlement that Mr. Breslow has talked about doesn't arise in isolation, in my view. It's the result of leadership behaviours that come up over time and that are then reinforced around, you know, the decisions the leaders make in the business, the priorities they set, and also how they treat their staff. And, you know, in my experience, it's HR that has the expertise to come in and sort those problems out. The startup mindset that he talks about is also not a new concept. Lots of businesses I work with, including the large corporates, are refocusing because of the current economy and focusing more on a startup or owner-led mindset in order to, you know, transform their businesses to survive.
Well, it's an interesting point you mentioned there about the CEO. He's not axed the entire department, but is this the way forward? Because I think many of us will have experience of HR departments which are almost like a multi-headed hydra that just grow and put more obstacles in the way, it seems, of people just trying to get about their daily tasks. Does it need to be a bit more restrictive as far as HR departments are concerned?
I think that in some businesses you will see that HR departments are really quite huge compared to the numbers of the workforce involved. And I think Bolt was a classic example previously before these cuts were made. And I think over time that's often driven by employment law and the fact that if businesses don't comply with employment law, the consequences are huge. With AI as well, it's very easy for employees to ask AI tools how to raise a grievance and what to include. And what we're seeing now is more AI-generated grievances, which produces huge reams of correspondence that employers then have to deal with or ignore at their peril.
Neil, very quickly, if you would, a final word from you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I agree with what's just been said. It's so easy today to bring cases in the employment tribunal, and you will incur costs which you can't get back from the other side, even if you win. So, I think what we're doing here, we're creating a rod for our own back. And as I said, we're massively reducing the productive capacity of the economy. We've got so many people, not just in HR. It's a cancer which affects the industry and all businesses in so many different ways, that we've got so many people doing jobs that are not productive in the normally understood sense of that term. You see it also in government, which is massively afflicted by all this kind of nonsense. Having been a minister and had to cope with the civil service, I've seen it all from the inside there as well. And it just seems to me that we've lost our way in so many directions. And so this chap who's the head of BOAT, which is a financial engineering company, I think has put his finger right on the button. This was a company which was worth about $11 billion, which was reduced to $300 million, not just because of HR departments. Obviously, it was much more deep-seated problem than that. But nevertheless, he has fired the lot. He's got rid of the department and distributed the few people that he's retained throughout the company, and not focused as a kind of separate little entity within the business. So it is business leadership. I do agree with what's been said about that. In the same way as ministers who blame the civil service for not allowing them to do things, if you've got a strong leader who knows what he's doing, assuming he's not an idiot, of course, then you will find that that sorts out the problems of the business. And I'm sure that BOAT will recover a great deal of its former success. Because
we'll have to leave it there, or we'll be in trouble with our own people.
Yeah, can I just say, Neil, Amanda, you've both been very, very well behaved. We're not going to have to raise a grievance against you with HR. So well done.
But we will send a little survey for you to fill in afterwards. Yeah,
there'll be a health and safety one coming your way soon.
Thank you very much. Time for the Great British Giveaway now. Still plenty of time for you to win £76,543 and 21p. Here's how.
£76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash could be yours this summer. That's totally tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. What would you spend it on? Treat the family and friends to the ultimate summer party, or just relax with enough cash in the bank to make this year your best yet. And remember, because it's totally tax-free cash, you'll get to keep every single penny. So, what are you waiting for? For a chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, still to come, we'll be seeing Pep cheerio to Pep Guardiola, who's confirmed that he's leaving Manchester City. That's coming next. The Sport with Aidan.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
So we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB Newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to
sport.
GB News Breakfast.
Aidan,
McGee.
tell us what's going on.
We shouldn't have such comedic commercial breaks, should we?
Yeah.
No, look, nothing too comedic about Thomas Tuchel's England choices yesterday, although some of the selections generated some anger. There was some consternation that Cole Palmer was left out. He's the guy who scored in the Euro 2024 final. One of those playmakers. We've got a glut of number 10s at the moment. It just happens in certain eras that you get an oversupply of players for particular positions and a dearth, and in other areas you have a dearth of players in other positions. But in the number 10 role this time, we've got players like Jude Bellingham, Cole Palmer, Phil Foden. They've got some outstanding players there, and in any other era, I think any one of them could lay claim to having that role. But we'll hear from Thomas Tuchel in a moment. He wanted to prioritise the team ethos over individuals. We've been beset by this problem in English football for decades now, where we've crowbarred players who are half fit. David Beckham, Michael Owen, Wayne Rooney into squads, and surprise, surprise, even Harry Kane 2 years ago, you could see palpably he was not fit to play in that tournament. Well, OK, he played, but he wasn't at his maximum, put it that way. But let's listen to Thomas Tuchel now. Here's how he justified his selections yesterday.
I think from day one we were very clear that we are trying to select and build the best possible team, which is not necessarily to select and collect the 26 most talented players. Teams win championships. It's as simple as that. And what we are trying to achieve in summer can only be achieved as a team.
Through the squad, Aidan, who were the surprises for you?
Well, I don't think there were any surprises in the goalkeeping area, so I think we're fairly settled on that. But if I look through Harry Maguire, 67 caps, been playing well for Man United. His omission was a bit of a surprise for me. Trent Alexander-Arnold, look, he's been improved a little bit recently for Real Madrid, as has Phil Foden at Manchester City, but I don't think they've done enough to get in the squad, given the other players available. But the inclusions of Dan Burn, who I wouldn't have said has had a vintage season for Newcastle, Jed Spence at Tottenham. I mean, they could get relegated tomorrow. Ivan Toney, who's been pulling up trees in the Saudi League, but is it the same as the Premier League? I would argue not. Noni Madueke, a bit part performance at Arsenal this season. John Stones injured for so much of the time. So why is he a justification or justified pick ahead of Harry Maguire? And of course Jordan Henderson, who I'm not even convinced will play any minutes, but apparently he's good around the camp. But let's just see. I mean, look, I'm confident at least that this has been thought through properly by the England manager. I don't think there are any kind of personal battles being fought out here or kind of vindictiveness. I think he genuinely believes that for the harmony of the squad and the ability in the side, this side has got what it takes to do something. If not win it, that maybe even go far, as we've been used to doing recently, the semi-final or the final in this competition. And as I say, given that we've been all the problems he's meant to be kind of moving on from, given that we've moaned about those problems for the last 2-3 decades, he's a departure from that. Maybe it's time to get behind him.
Difficult job, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Oh, it's huge. A huge difference. And Pep,
quickly on Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, look, he's saying goodbye yesterday. They've got a final game tomorrow. 10 years at the helm, Manchester City. 6 league titles, 3 FA Cups, 6 Carabao Cups and a Champions League, including treble in 2023. Outstanding performance from him. But with the 115 charges lying in wait in the background, let's just see if it turns out that he's running before he could, or he's jumping before he was pushed.
Wonderful. Aidan, thank you very much. We'll speak to you
in a bit.
Next hour.
Yes, do stay with us, though. Still to come, Labour mayoralties.
It's mayoral.
It's a difficult one.
No, that's mayoral.
They are considering introducing this holiday tax for Britain's most popular tourist spots. To go through that and more, we've got Kevin Schofield and Duncan Barks on standby. First of all, though, here's the European forecast.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
A lot of sunny and hot weather across the Med and Western Europe at the moment, especially for Spain and France. Very showery, however, with low pressure close to Greece and Turkey. Long spells of rain for Turkey. Greek islands mostly sheltered from the showers, but heavy downpours for mainland Greece. 1 or 2 showers for Italy, but we come to Iberia and France, and it's unusually hot and sunny during the next few days. Temperatures peaking in France into the mid to high 30s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it. Don't get this on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
The fairest place on earth. The famous words of William Wordsworth to describe his home of Grassmere in the Lake District, which has just been named by TripAdvisor as the UK's favourite holiday hotspots for this summer.
Grassmere is really, as you can see, a beautiful place. It's surrounded by fantastic fells or hills, by a lake. It's a very nice village to visit. It's got plenty of shops. It's got famous Grassmere gingerbread. It's got a beautiful 12th century church. It's just a really nice place to visit and unwind and relax and enjoy.
With Grassmere taking the top spot, 4th place went just a few miles down the road to tourist hotspot Bowness on Windermere, with other popular places in Cumbria such as Ambleside, Keswick and Derwent sure to see people flocking in this summer. However, for one nature festival taking place on the edge of the county this weekend, they recently had to put a warning out to some guests who may have been planning to arrive somewhat underdressed for the occasion. That's right, the age-old mix-up between nature and au naturel has forced the festival to ask any nudists to stay at home. But how many of us would be at risk of getting confused? Are you able to tell me the difference between a naturist and a naturalist?
No.
No, sorry.
No.
A naturist is somebody who likes nature and the outdoors, and a naturalist is somebody who doesn't wear clothes.
That's actually the other way around.
You see?
Clearly the terms are easy to confuse, but fortunately any nudists who were planning on attending have been offered a full refund.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
Practice Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Right, joining us to have a look through the newspaper, politics editor of HuffPost UK, Kevin Schofield, and political commentator Duncan Barks. But before we talk to either of you, we've got some breaking news.
Yeah, just to get your views on this, it's we're keeping our audience up to date with the latest in the English Channel because we're in a run of 4 very good weather days. We had almost 400 crossing the Channel yesterday. This morning now, we've had failed attempts. Boats that have come out of Belgium have come down the coast. Taxi boats, they're called, normally with about a dozen or 2 migrants on board, and then they pick up another 50 or so off the beach. They've tried in Dunkirk, and there seems to have been some kind of law enforcement interdiction there on the beach that's prevented them from doing that. But we have now got confirmation from our producer in Kent that 2 boats are en route. We can show you a map, actually, that shows one of these French Border Patrol vessels. This is a marine traffic app. You can look at that. Anybody can download these and look at them. It gives you all the traffic in one of the world's busiest shipping lanes, and you can see just the sort of the thumbnail there of a boat that's called Riddens. It's a boat that's used by the French authorities to patrol the area and, of course, to escort these migrant dinghies across into UK waters, very controversially. And that Riddens has been doing from between about 3.2 knots up to 5 or 6 knots, so making steady progress towards the UK now. And there is another Border Patrol vessel as we speak called the Flamand, which is also now heading to the UK doing 3.9 knots. So I guess I was going to ask you, Kevin, first of all, that we've been told the numbers are quite significantly down, which they are this year. But, many maritime security experts have been warning that actually what we're seeing is really just a result of the poor weather. And the second we get a run of good days, that number will be sort of closed very significantly.
Yeah, well, one of your contributors earlier did say the one person in the country who probably heart sinks when they see good weather on the south coast is the Home Secretary. And lo and behold, it's coming to fruition. It does show, I think, that whatever the government is doing just isn't working. One in, one out, warnings that you'll be sent straight back again. It is not registering at all. These people do want to come here, and will, no disincentives will put them off. And if the weather is right and they can find the money somehow to get on those boats, crammed onto these boats, putting their lives at risk, they will absolutely do it.
They're determined, aren't they? And they will. Yeah. And they keep trying. We've just seen so much footage there of the failed attempt to get on a dinghy there. But they will try again.
They will try again because there are a lot of people who want to come to this country, and I think you've got to go back a number of years now. I think the only solution that really exists is going to be effective and is quite hardcore and is quite brutal is having some kind of quite blunt deterrent, which is, I think, if you come to this country effectively, illegally, you get processed somewhere else in a country you really don't want to go to. And we know that the Conservatives had a policy, the Rwanda policy, which was if you come to this country, you go to Rwanda and be processed. That never really got off the ground. That was a policy that Labour scrapped in its first few weeks in office, and I think it needs that kind of harsh deterrent. And Kevin's right, everything that's been outlined so far, one in, one out, if you come here, you're going to go straight back and stuff, it's clearly not working.
Seems terribly short-sighted, doesn't it, of Sir Keir Starmer, to basically one of his first acts in office was to scrap Rwanda, clearly because, the politics of it.
It was a Tory policy.
We'd invested many, many millions in getting this off the ground. We'd gone through all the sort of courts, the challenges that had been thrown up by the human rights lawyers and the lobbies. And we were at the point where we could start putting him on a plane. Surely if Sir Keir Starmer had just kept this, give it a try, see if it worked. If it didn't, you can scrap it, blame the Tories.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you're right, it's all about politics. I mean, it was a Tory policy. He wanted to scrap it to score some political points. But also, even if he wanted to keep it, I don't think his backbenchers would have allowed him to keep it, because there is a massive rump of Labour backbenchers who have a very laissez-faire, very liberal attitude to people who come to this country, either legally or illegally. And I think it would have done him some political damage.
It's such a shame, though, as you say, the politics was put before just trying it. The plane was on the tarmac, you know, and the places for them to live in Rwanda were there. We'd spent all that money. It's terrible that they just, with one switch.
And we know it's worked elsewhere around the world. It's been documented in Australia when they were processing people effectively offshore, that the numbers came down quite significantly. And you know, there are human rights concerns about it. You can argue that till the cows come home, but ultimately you need a hard and fast deterrent, and Rwanda, I believe, would have made a difference.
So many people watching at the moment have got in touch to point out the irony of the fact that we've got British people wanting to go abroad, queuing, with all of their paperwork and all the new biometrics being taken and everything, having a real hard time getting away. But it seems to be really easy for illegal migrants to come here. But which brings us on to, obviously, one of the stories that you've been looking at, Duncan, which is about this idea of a holiday tax.
Yeah, I'm staggered that anyone thinks this is a good idea. You know, we have a hospitality sector and a tourism sector in this country that's already under the cosh because of a couple of budgets, so they've seen the cost of employing people go up, etc., etc., etc. And we now have this idea that mayors, particularly in various parts of the country, so across Yorkshire, the North East, the West Country, and the Midlands, and also, it appears, smaller areas or smaller local authorities, Oxford City, North Norfolk, etc., will have the power to put in basically a holiday tax.
Well, I'm afraid we've run out of time already.
But thank you for reacting to that breaking news.
That's been happening with breaking news. Let's catch up with the weather right now.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there, welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. 30 Celsius today, and believe it or not, today is the coolest day of the bank holiday weekend. Some patchy cloud first thing, but increasingly sunny and increasingly hot. Perhaps the odd shower during the next few hours across East Anglia in the southeast as this area of cloud moves out of the way. And there's still some showers tickling parts of the northwest of Scotland through the day, generally light and fleeting. Cloudier for Northern Ireland, Scotland and Northern England. Temperatures not particularly exceptional here, high teens, low 20s. But come further south, and those temperatures are rocketing. We're looking at widely low to mid-20s and high 20s, up to 30 Celsius towards East Anglia and the southeast. High UV. Make sure you are bearing that in mind if you're spending time outdoors. But for Scotland, the cloud cover fairly continuous into the afternoon, breaking up a little by evening, showers tending to fade. And for many parts of the UK, yeah, it's cooler and cloudier in the north, but it's a fine start to the long weekend for the vast majority. Settled with high pressure in charge, and despite some high-level cloud across central parts of the UK, plenty of bright skies to end the afternoon and go into the evening. Clear spells then continue overnight. We will see a weak weather front bring some showery rain once again into the northwest of Scotland and thicker cloud overnight for Northern Ireland as well as Scotland. Highly variable temperatures overnight. Some cool spots where we've got shelter from the breeze, but in some places, like London for example, temperatures staying up at 18 or 19 Celsius. So head start on Sunday as far as the temperatures are concerned, and widespread sunny skies, certainly a sunnier morning compared with this morning. England and Wales, southern Scotland, blue skies, and temperatures really rising quickly. We're looking at high 20s widely, up to 32 Celsius in the south, always cloudier and cooler the north of Scotland.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
£76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash could be yours this summer. That's totally tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. And remember, because it's totally tax-free cash, you'll get to keep every single penny. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts,
5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I think GB News is completely unique in the way that we interact with our viewers.
Our audience aren't afraid to have their say. They want their voices heard now, and they've got a channel where that can happen.
I find more and more as I'm wandering around, people come up to me and they say, "We saw you on television." I say, "Oh yes, on what?" "On GB News."
Hello, are you the famous Sue? The whole crew hit me here now. We came to celebrate.
It's our job to be the eyes and ears of the viewers.
They are part of the GB News family, and I'm pleased to say it's a very large family.
And if people go to the time and trouble of listening and watching, then we've got to do a good job for them.
Well, I'm here, right in the epicentre of the protest.
Here we go again.
You just tuned in. Where have you been?
It is raucous here tonight.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Good morning. Hundreds of illegal migrants are heading for the UK right now.
Yeah, GB News can confirm that 2 packed migrant dinghies are en route amid Britain's heat wave.
Yes, 400 illegal arrivals yesterday. Just how many can we expect to cross over the next few days, since it's going to be sizzling hot weather and calm seas?
Yes, temperatures are soaring across the UK as parts of the country are expected to exceed temperatures in Barbados. But what does that mean for the travel this weekend?
We're starting the day with some patchy cloud, even the odd shower. However, it is going to turn increasingly sunny and increasingly hot. This bank holiday weekend could be record-breaking as far as May temperatures are concerned. Full details in the forecast coming up soon.
And we're also going to be talking about this idea of tourist taxes for holidays that are staycations. Basically, if you take the decision to stay in the UK, you could pay £300 tax for the privilege of doing so.
Jeremy Clarkson and farming's biggest stars are giving the traditional country show a modern makeover at the Great British Farmfest. We'll be there live just after 9 a.m.
And a town in the Netherlands is launching a heartfelt search for the British and Canadian soldiers who helped liberate it during the Second World War. They're determined to prove that the sacrifice that was made then has not been forgotten.
Thomas Tuchel has doubled down on his decision to axe big names from England's World Cup squad, and Pep Guardiola announces his departure from Manchester City, saying the club needs new energy.
Well, it's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Mark White.
And I'm Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Well, we've been updating you all morning on the breaking news in the English Channel, and GB News can reveal that 2 packed migrant dinghies are now en route, heading out into open water across the channel as we speak.
And of course, it's as we are enjoying, if you like, a heat wave and calm seas in the channel. It also follows what happened yesterday, which was almost 400 small boat migrants arrived. This is the second of at least 4 days of good weather, where UK authorities are going to have to brace themselves for more channel crossings.
You'll be speaking to our political correspondent, Olivia Utley, in a second. We just want to bring you some images of a failed attempt this morning by Dunkirk, and we can see from beach cameras in the Dunkirk area, you see some of the dozens of migrants that were attempting to get on board what we call taxi boats. Now, our producer tells us that the 2 boats in question had come down from Belgium to then try to pick up migrants on the beach at Marlow in Dunkirk. There had been some kind of law enforcement intervention, and that was thwarted. But aside from that, 2 other boats have taken off and are now in open water. We can show you a map now that actually shows you you're seeing the English Channel there, you can see all the shipping. This is just one of these marine apps anybody can download and take a look at. It gives you an indication of the shipping in the likes of the English Channel. And the thumbnail there, you can see, shows a vessel called Riddens. And Riddens is a French patrol vessel, and it's been doing between about 3 and 6 knots, heading right out into the open English Channel, making steady progress towards the UK. It is, according to our producer, absolutely packed. As is another vessel we can show you. Again, this is from that same marine app, but it's showing a different vessel this time. No image of the vessel, but it's called the Flamant. Which again is a kind of French warship patrol vessel, and it's heading out into the open sea as well, making steady progress. So,
does that mean it's escorting?
It's escorting them. This highly controversial tactic, but the French will escort these vessels until they get to the central separation zone, the halfway point between the UK and France. And there, of course, the UK will pick up the migrants.
Well, as you were saying, Olivia Utley, our political correspondent, is with us. And politically, this is a disaster, actually, isn't it?
Well, it's so difficult for Keir Starmer and the Labour Party. It's really interesting what's going on here. A lot of these migrants coming over from Belgium rather than France. And we know that the Prime Minister, the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, has just agreed a multi-million-pound deal with France to try and stop the onslaught of small boats. But those smuggling gangs, they are facing increased pressure in France because of that deal with the French. But what are they doing? They're just moving over to Belgium. The problem of migrants coming over to the UK is often described as sort of many-headed hydra. You address one problem and another one just pops up elsewhere. I remember over and over again during the election campaign in 2024, Keir Starmer said the government's plan on this was to smash the gangs. I think the naivety of that idea is being shown up right now because these people smuggling gangs, they are so nimble, they're sort of amorphous. They move around, they pop up in one place, they disappear in another. They are professional criminals. They know exactly what they're doing. Just to give you an indication, last year in 2025, no migrants were recorded as coming over from Belgium to the UK. This year already in May, we're up to 400. Now, the government has agreed a £1.3 million deal with Belgium, but that's, you know, the deal with France is more like 300 million. So is the UK government going to have to agree an incredibly expensive deal with Belgium as well to try and stop these migrants coming over? And as keeps happening with this problem, you know, you solve the problem in one area or you begin to start tackling it and it looks good. The numbers coming from France begin to dip in some areas. But then the numbers overall never seem to go down. And we're experiencing this lovely weekend of good weather, which we should all be out celebrating. But it always comes with a cost. Today, tomorrow and Monday, we're going to see high numbers of migrants coming over to the UK and disappearing into the black market.
And yet, every time you talk to a politician about this, I mean, particularly somebody from government at the moment, they come right back at you. They throw a statistic at you, which proves, according to them, that illegal migration is down. And yet we're seeing it with our own eyes.
The problem is that, as Mark White will tell you, the only real thing that stops the migrants coming over here is bad weather. So you'll have a couple of weeks of bad weather, it'll rain every day, and you'll see government ministers all over social media saying 0 migrants on Monday, 0 migrants on Tuesday, 0 migrants on Wednesday. 3 weeks later, you see a huge influx because of good weather. So it's always up and down, and sometimes you see a bit of a trend down when you've seen a few months, perhaps, of bad weather, and then you get time like this, and the numbers start going up again.
Yeah, so it depends on the last. I mean, they'll throw whatever statistic at you is favourable to them.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. And in terms of, you know, throwing more money at the French for police, and there's going to be another 400 police officers, but they're concentrated mainly around what have traditionally been the busy beaches, Graveline, and, you know, Marlow around Dunkirk, down towards the Pas de Calais as well. But what we saw yesterday was migrants, hundreds of them, coming out from way down the coast in Boulogne, and today the opposite end, right up into Belgium. So it's just this constant cat and mouse game.
Well, exactly, which comes back to the fact that these are professional criminals. They know what they're doing. They're always 10 steps ahead of the government that has to move through lawyers, that has to move through Parliament, etc., etc. These gangs, if you just look at their TikTok operation, it is so smooth, so slick, like nothing the government could produce, and they are just too many steps ahead for the government to be keeping up.
OK, and as we said, we've got more days ahead of this, and probably more. Yesterday, apparently, was the warmest day of the year so far. It's not going to ease up as well.
Yeah, the UK is set to welcome a heat wave next week, with temperatures across the nation expected to soar above 30 Celsius.
So if you are planning to get away this bank holiday weekend, you really might want to think again, because the heat wave is with us, but so is a rail strike, engineering works, that's going to make getting around by train really difficult, forcing people onto the roads, which of course are already crowded.
Meanwhile, families heading for Europe, well, they're going to be hammered as well, because they're facing long queues due to the new EU entry-exit system, whether at airports or on the continent or in ports like Dover.
And I'm so sorry that we appear to be casting a negative view on what for many people is good news, that at last it's a bank holiday that's going to give us good weather. Shall we find out a bit more about how long it's going to last? Phil Morris joins us now, our weather expert. Morning, Phil. Is it sunny where you are? Is it nice and warm? And is it going to stay?
It is lovely. It is a beautiful day here in Leicestershire. We're already up to 18 degrees Celsius. We had 27, and it's going to get hotter and hotter.
Now, what's causing all this?
We've got a large area of high pressure, which is literally sat over the top of the country, and that is going to stay there for 4 or 5 days. We've had a lot of hot air coming up from Africa, and that is actually over the country, and that will stay over us for, say, 4 or 5 days. Temperatures 29 degrees starting today, and then going up by Tuesday up to 33 degrees, which is way above the normal temperature. In fact, it's 12 to 14 degrees. The record was 32.8 in 1944, and that is going to be beaten probably by Monday or Tuesday in this very intense heat wave.
Well, that's quite something, isn't it? It's a long time since we've had those temperatures.
Yeah.
It is something to get an intense heat wave so early. We have had these in 2022. We have the 40 degrees. That was in July. It's not even summer yet, and you're getting an intense heat wave. This African air is really very intense, very, very warm, very, very humid. It's affecting the southeast to start with and up into the Midlands, but even the northwest and Scotland, who have so far not had very much decent weather, that is going to warm up there too. So we are really talking about an exceptional heat wave for this time of year.
Phil, I have to say, this is the first time we've spoken, but you're a little ray of sunshine yourself, I have to say. How long do you think that this hot spell is going to last?
I've been recording here in Leicestershire for 30 years, and I've got my own weather station. Yes, I am very enthusiastic. It's going to last in its intensity till Tuesday, but for most of the rest of the week, it's also going to be fine right and through till next Saturday. So we're looking at 7 days, particularly in the southeast, wall-to-wall sunshine, with temperatures breaking those May records. Very, very significant indeed. And this is indicative of what we say about global warming. Our heat waves are coming more intense, longer lasting, and we get weather out. Over the last 30 years, I've noticed that the weather has become much more changeable into dramatic. You get spells of sunshine and then lots of rain. Average weather, look, we used to get a day of sun and a day of rain. That seems to be not the case anymore, and we get far more dramatic weather, swinging from one scenario to another, which means we've got to affect lots of things in our planning and reservoir building. As you say, as our summers seem to change and not the weather we used to have. But it's certainly, as an amateur meteorologist, it's a very interesting, exciting, a little bit concerning that we are getting this warm too early, but that is what we are expecting.
Don't say that. Be careful what you say. Don't wish for it anyway. It's lovely to talk to you. Little ray of sunshine there.
Very
Phil
lovely.
Morris.
I think he could
you
make
very
a
much.
thunderstorm sound nice, couldn't he?
Well, it's just as well, because we get plenty of those.
Yeah.
In fact, one of our viewers was saying they had, in North Yorkshire, you had thunder and lightning last night.
Yeah.
But that's usually a sign of warmer temperatures suddenly.
It is, yeah.
Isn't
You
it?
get basically all of the evaporation up into the clouds and then it buckets down.
Now, what if you are one of those people who doesn't like the heat or sees it as a bit of a threat? You have trouble keeping cool. Let's talk to pharmacist and health expert Torrin Govin right now. A very good morning to you, Torrin. What's the best way, I suppose, of keeping cool if you're the sort of person who really gets flummoxed by this sort of heat?
Well, it's a lovely weather to enjoy, but we also need to think about keeping cool as well, absolutely. So making sure we're drinking lots of water, getting those fans on, staying out of the direct sun, particularly between 11 and 2 p.m. Those are my top tips for you this morning.
They always say, don't they, it's if you do feel a bit overcome by the heat, having an alcoholic drink isn't the answer.
No, it's not, though I know people may be planning that. I think what we need to understand as well is heat exhaustion. Those symptoms can be things like heavy sweating, tiredness, cramps, nausea. I think just generally, we don't want to put down on this. It's about how we can enjoy the sun as best as possible, and we must not forget about SPF when we are out and about.
Yeah, sun hat and all of those protective things. And I suppose if you're setting out in the car, just make sure you've got lots of water and things like that with you.
Absolutely. There are some people who are at higher risk when it comes to the heat. So adults over 75, babies and young children, because they might not be so good at telling us that they're feeling they are being overcome by the heat. So we need to keep an eye out on them. Regular stops if you're travelling in the car as well. If you can get some sort of blinds, not so much blinds in the car, but if you can cover the windows a little bit, that can really help. And wearing that light, loose clothing's going to help. So please check on your neighbours as well. Let's be community spirited as well.
Yeah. I mean, I know the advice we're asking you now for is, to some people, obvious. But sometimes you just need reminding, because the next couple of days are going to be unusually hot for Britain.
Well, I would just point out we've got bank holiday and some people will be going to their medicine shelves on Monday and thinking, oh, I've completely run out of my medication. So if it's good for you to have a look at that today, and you can connect with your local pharmacy who can provide support if you have run out of medication. There are some medications where you need to have extra caution in the heat as well. So people who are on blood pressure tablets, people who are on diuretics known as water tablets, they are just some of the examples where we just need to be a little bit more careful. You don't stop your medication, but we just need to be thinking about you a bit more when it comes to the heat.
Yeah, that's the trouble with us Brits. We get so excited, a sheer hint of sunshine, that we're out there and we can get go very pink.
What factor should people be sort of slapping on? We're always told that actually factor 15 or so is no good. You need to be up at least over 30, maybe 50.
So I'm team factor 50. So we need to be thinking about those who burn easily, have fair skin, and if you're out in for long periods outdoors, which I'm definitely not recommending, but I think SPF 50, and it's not just about the SPF, it's also about reapplying it. So don't forget that if you are going swimming, for example, or just generally, you need to be reapplying it every 2 hours. Otherwise, it's almost like you're not putting it on.
I also heard that, you know, with regard to sort of sunblock, that actually rubbing it into your skin, you know, does really sort of diminish the ability of that sunblock to work effectively, and that what you should be doing is kind of leaving that almost that sort of smear of kind of white sun cream over you, which doesn't really feel very attractive.
Well, rubbing sunscreen doesn't reduce how well it works. So
that's good to know.
You want to get a gentle spread, so an even layer. The biggest problem is people use too little. You need about 6 to 8 teaspoons to cover the whole body.
Wow.
We don't want you to rub it in super aggressively, but it does need to be rubbed into the body. And also don't forget the back of your ears, the tops of your heads as well. Yep. Feet. People forget these areas.
Oh, yes,
and
see
reapply.
Some pink ankles. Yeah, absolutely. Look, as I said, it seems obvious, but it's always worth reminding ourselves. Thanks very much indeed, Doran.
Thank you, Thorin. Cheers.
Let's have a look now at some of the other stories coming into the newsroom this morning.
And some concerning breaking news out of China. An explosion at a mine in Jiangxi province has killed at least 90 people, with the death toll expected to rise. Chinese state media reports that 247 workers were on site when the gas explosion occurred. Rescue efforts are ongoing and more details are expected soon.
Children are now more likely than working-age adults to live in private rented homes. The new research from the Resolution Foundation shows that the number of young people renting has nearly tripled over the past 25 years. They say young families are being priced out of home ownership.
And the National Trust has unveiled the winning design to transform the illegally felled Sycamore Gap tree into a new public artwork. The People's Tree by Helix Arts and George King Architects will use the tree's timber in a UK-wide project. It will invite people to share reflections on nature, and after its 2023 felling, of course, sparked a national outrage.
At 8:19, time for the weather now. As if we haven't talked weather enough, here's Aidan McGivern.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there, welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. 30 Celsius today, and believe it or not, today is the coolest day of the bank holiday weekend. Some patchy cloud first thing, but increasingly sunny and increasingly hot. Perhaps the odd shower during the next few hours across East Anglia in the southeast as this area of cloud moves out of the way. And there's still some showers tickling parts of the northwest of Scotland through the day, generally light and fleeting. Cloudier for Northern Ireland, Scotland and Northern England. Temperatures not particularly exceptional here, high teens, low 20s. But come further south, and those temperatures are rocketing. We're looking at widely low to mid-20s and high 20s, up to 30 Celsius towards East Anglia and the southeast. High UV. Make sure you are bearing that in mind if you're spending time outdoors. But for Scotland, the cloud cover fairly continuous into the afternoon, breaking up a little by evening, showers tending to fade. And for many parts of the UK, yeah, it's cooler and cloudier in the north, but it's a fine start to the long weekend for the vast majority. Settled with high pressure in charge, and despite some high-level cloud across central parts of the UK, plenty of bright skies to end the afternoon and go into the evening. Clear spells then continue overnight. We will see a weak weather front bring some showery rain once again into the northwest of Scotland and thicker cloud overnight for Northern Ireland as well as Scotland. Highly variable temperatures overnight, some cool spots where we've got shelter from the breeze, but yeah, in some places, like London for example, temperatures staying up at 18 or 19 Celsius. So head start on Sunday as far as the temperatures are concerned, and widespread sunny skies, certainly a sunnier morning compared with this morning. England and Wales, southern Scotland, blue skies and temperatures really rising quickly. We're looking at high 20s widely, up to 32 Celsius in the south, always cloudier and cooler the north of Scotland.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Cliff has a good point. He says anyone in the southeast who wants to find a nice place to keep cool, I would recommend Margate Caves. 12 to 14 degrees, really cool down in the caves.
Wow, okay.
There are lots of other caves around in other parts of Britain too. Maybe it's a good day to go there. Still to come, we're going to be talking to some people from a Dutch town, in fact the very famous Dutch town of Arnhem. They're launching a heartfelt search for the British soldiers who helped to liberate it during the Second World War. We'll talk to them in just a couple of moments.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to GB News Breakfast. Now, citizens of the Dutch town of Arnhem are launching an appeal to search for families of the men who served in Operation Anger in April 1945.
Yeah, you'll know the name Arnhem because that was the town that was the focus of the movie A Bridge Too Far when Operation Market Garden took place. But unfortunately, that particular operation was a failure. They didn't manage to liberate Arnhem, but the liberation did happen later. It saw British soldiers help liberate the occupied town of Arnhem alongside Canadian forces, apparently.
Yeah.
Joining us now are members of the forgotten liberation of Arnhem. That's Amanda and Michael Slotboom. A very good morning to you. The history of Arnhem is so dramatic, so very, very sad. And I know that as far as you are concerned, I think all four of your grandparents lived in Arnhem during the occupation.
That's the case for me, yes. My wife's Canadian, so her family wasn't here, so to speak. But yeah, my family lived in Arnhem, saw the paratroopers come in in September, I should have said. And then they got forcibly evacuated for the next 7 months. And then finally the polar bears arrived, the 49th West Riding Division in April 45.
That's right. And as I said, it's the local people suffered terribly in Arnhem and were so thankful in the end to be liberated. And that's what you want to find out more about, isn't it? The very troops that did liberate Arnhem.
Exactly, yes. Well, Market Garden, like you just said, is very well known. Everybody basically knows who was involved, which veterans are left. But because of Arnhem being almost empty of civilians, they weren't greeted with cheering crowds and flowers thrown at them and lots of kisses of pretty girls, because everybody was gone. They were elsewhere. And because of that, they basically met a ghost town and never got the true recognition that they deserved for liberating the city.
And how well dug in were the Germans? As you say, they seem to have, pushed the civilian population out there. It was a very difficult, we know from Market Garden the first time around, it didn't work. A few months later, the operation finally to liberate the town began. But just how difficult a slog was it for those British soldiers?
Well, they had, like you just said, they had like 6-7 months to prepare for an eventual attack coming, and they did. They had they were very well dug in. They had, sadly to say, they had Dutch SS troops in Arnhem, which, of course, at that point in time had nothing to lose. So they gave everything to stop this from happening and being successful. So yeah, they got some stiff opposition, but. Knowing that there were no civilians anymore, the artillery went full out on the city of Arnhem, and they fired about 70,000 shells in about 2 hours' time.
And very little, that's what it looked like. Very little was left.
Yes.
Gosh, look at the pictures. Yeah. It's absolutely devastation. So you call it the forgotten liberation of Arnhem?
Yeah, it is a forgotten liberation. It seems that Arnhem is actually a little bit of a black hole when it comes to the liberation because there's so much focus on what happened in September. And because there was no real connection between the civilians and the liberators in this area, the focus just became rebuilding, which took many, many years. And then all of the soldiers from the September operation would come back every year, and that's where the relationships were built. So Operation Anger is largely forgotten. You can walk through the center of town in September and everybody knows who had been here. But if you walk through in April and ask who liberated Arnhem, You'll have people say the paratroopers did or the Canadians did, and nobody knows that it was the 49th West Riding Division with Canadian support.
And Amanda, how does it feel for you as a Canadian? Of course, we know so many Canadians and Americans fought and died for the liberation of Europe. But, you know, to be here, to be in Arnhem, to see the town, to hear about what happened to that town, now to see, obviously, how it's flourished again in the years since. I mean, that must be humbling.
It is absolutely humbling. In Canada, we are raised, we know November 11th, we know about Armistice, Remembrance Day, but the connection is not the same as it is here in the Netherlands. It is a very special bond between the Dutch and the Canadians, but also the Dutch and the British. I've never seen anything like it, and many of the veterans we've spoken to said there is nothing like it in the world. We teach our children the history and we teach our kids to remember.
Yeah. And I know that people always remark if they visit any of the cemeteries of the fallen, how brilliantly kept they are, particularly in and around those Dutch villages and towns. Thank you so much for telling us your story. What if anyone is watching right now who says, yes, I had a father or an uncle or a grandfather who was part of that operation? How should they get in touch with you?
Well, we have a Facebook page called The Forgotten Liberation of Arnhem, 1945. And we also have a website that is the forgottenliberationarnhem.org.
And we'll make sure that's, I was going to say, and they can also have a look on our website, and we'll make sure the details are on the GB News website. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, an amazing story.
It is, absolutely.
Still stories worth telling, aren't they?
Yeah, indeed.
All these years later.
Well, still to come on GB News Breakfast, we'll be taking a look at Pep Guardiola's heartfelt farewell video to Manchester City. That's next.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, this Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Aidan's here with the sport. And Pep Guardiola has made a farewell video.
He has. He spent 10 years at Manchester City. We got kind of... There were murmurs.
Fair old time.
It is, actually, yeah, because, I mean, if you looked at his career before that, it was kind of 4 years at Barcelona, 3 years at Bayern Munich. The common perception was that these foreign managers were coming here just for a short period of time, making as much as they could, money financially, and going. He was in it for the long haul. And bear in mind, he came from Barcelona and he had to suffer the reign of Manchester for all those years. I think you have to credit his staying power. Now, they spent the GDP of a small country to get where they were, but look what they achieved. They achieved 6 Premier League titles, 6 League Cups, 3 FA Cups, Champions League, including a treble in 22-23, an extraordinary achievement there. There are the 115 charges still looming large over the club, but I think it'd be quite cynical to suggest that he's leaving just because of what's down the road. But nonetheless, they play a game against Aston Villa tomorrow. They've just lost out on the Premier League title. The level of football that man produced for that club was something from a different planet. Let's hear just a little snippet of his farewell video, which was published yesterday by the club.
The fans, the staff, the people of Manchester, you gave me the strength when I needed most. Chris, my kids, my whole family, you were there, as always. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for trusting me. Thank you for pushing me, thank you for loving me.
All upset now. I didn't know I'd get so upset. That sounds lovely.
I know. I think he's a good guy.
Yeah.
I do. And he's brought a lot to the Premier League, no doubt about that.
Well, hasn't he just?
Yeah.
And in the Championship, of course, the playoffs.
Yes.
Those hoping to get up to the Premier League.
Yep.
Minus Southampton, of course, because of this Spygate crisis.
You know what? It's just extraordinary, Mark. I think I was here 3 weeks ago and we were making light of the story.
Yeah.
I honestly felt that the most Southampton would get in terms of a punishment would be a slap on the wrist, maybe a fine. In 2019, Leeds United, they didn't spy in a playoff match. They spied in a league game on an opponent they later faced in the playoffs, and they were fined 200 grand. This is going to cost Southampton the opportunity to earn £200 million. Now, all right, they spied on an opponent. They admitted it. They were caught red-handed. You would think that...
More than once.
More than once, yeah. They spied on 3 teams. But
yeah, well, there you go.
But you ask coaches in the game, though, Mark, what you can deduce from watching a training session for 10, 15, 20 minutes, and they'd say not a lot. There's only three ways to win.
It then,
well, they obviously... Look, I think it's a marginal gain. I think there should have been some punishment in terms of... I mean, the players knew nothing about it, and they're the ones suffering today. They're the ones who have clauses in their contract. They're the ones who, with a victory today at Wembley, would have had a life-changing amount of money in their accounts. So, look, I mean, let's hope it's a decent game today. It's the 40th anniversary of the playoffs. An interesting subplot to this is that, of course, the EFL can be credited for dealing with it quickly, I guess, if some would say that. But England have decided to beef up their security this summer. They have a training camp in Kansas City and Missouri. They missed out on the premium one because Argentina got there first. But Thomas Tuchel actually spoke in his press conference yesterday and said that in view of the Spygate scandal, they've decided to just boost the security a bit around the complex. And I guess when the weather's good, you probably got more scope to spy as well. You can maybe send a few drones up. You can maybe put a camera up in the trees. So the England camp and their officials will be looking at that. And of course, they kick off against Croatia in just a few weeks' time.
OK.
Yeah.
Aidan, thank you very much.
See you tomorrow.
Yes,
to you tomorrow.
absolutely. Yeah. Let's all go here. Right, I was just looking at... We've got some fascinating stuff coming up for you, actually, as well. Right now, though, the Great British Giveaway. There's still plenty of time to have a go at it, because it's worth it if you get it. £76,543.21.
Don't forget the 21 pence.
Well, I would want to count every last penny, wouldn't you, if you won it? I don't know. Here's how to try for it.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. That is extra cash that you could use to buy those treats you've always wanted, put a new car on the drive, or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. £76,543 and 21 pence is an incredible amount of money, and it could be all yours. For a chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Right, well, good luck with that. Now, coming up, Labour mayoralties are considering introducing a holiday tax for Britain's most popular tourist spots.
Yeah, to go through that and more, we've got Kevin Schofield and Duncan Barks. But first, here's the European forecast for you.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
A lot of sunny and hot weather across the Med and Western Europe at the moment, especially for Spain and France. Very showery, however, with low pressure close to Greece and Turkey. Long spells of rain for Turkey. Greek islands mostly sheltered from the showers, but heavy downpours for mainland Greece. 1 or 2 showers for Italy, but we come to Iberia and France, and it's unusually hot and sunny during the next few days. Temperatures peaking in France into the mid to high 30s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's I wrote it as a chronicle of the last years of my parents' lives, and my mother in particular, her struggle coping with my father's dementia, and actually the whole family's. And they were lucky to start with in that they were well into the 90s before they actually lost their independence, and they were in relatively good health. But they also were not aware of their growing need in any way whatsoever, and they were reluctant to give up their independence, as we can imagine, and we could see just how much need they had. So this sort of tender dance started between them letting go and us stepping forward as a family. And I remember one incident in particular when I pointed out to my father that that somebody had smashed the wind mirrors on their car. And his reply was, it doesn't matter, dear, we don't use them anyway. And it was this sort of sense of denial, and the book chronicles this gradual development of trying to help them while still respecting their dignity.
Yes. One of the poems that you want to read us demonstrates that.
Yes.
Would you read it for us?
Yes, of course. We've been here since dawn, cleaning to make the house presentable for the buyers who are back for one last look. We had Dad here. It does have its problems. He was the same at their interview for the retirement village when he kept asking over and over, is there an emergency doctor on site? He scuppered the last sale, talking about the dormouse they'd found paddling in the toilet and how, even though they'd fished it out with a colander and laid it on the grass, it had died anyway.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Let's have a look at the front pages of today's newspapers for you. Right, we'll start with The Times, and a government review has said young adults have had their brains rewired by smartphones, making them too anxious for the workplace. That's The Times front page.
In The Telegraph, Labour mayors across England are planning to introduce a £300 tax on holidaymakers who wish to travel to some of Britain's most popular tourist spots.
And then in The Guardian, the EU has rejected a pitch by ministers to create a single market for goods.
And finally in The Express, a rape gang victim wants police and care staff who failed her to face a criminal probe.
Joining us to go through what's inside the news is politics editor of HuffPost UK, Kevin Schofield, and political commentator Duncan Barks. And welcome back, both of you.
Welcome.
What are we going to start with, Duncan? This £300 tax on us if we want to do summer staycations.
This really does beg a belief. It's just completely nuts. We know the hospitality sector in this country is already under the cosh for all kinds of reasons. People talk about the budgets and how it's more costly to hire people, and there's less flexibility, particularly if you're running a business in a tourist hotspot or whatever, where it's seasonal because of the Employment Rights Act that's in place. It's harder just to hire people and then let them go. This is something that I think is going to really hurt anyone in the tourism sector, and it's massively destructive. So mayors will have the ability to implement a holiday tax in various parts of the country: Yorkshire, the North East, the West Country, Bath, Bournemouth, loads of places, which basically means they're able to say, well, look, you're going to come to my town or my city, we're going to put a surcharge on you staying the night here. Now, it's only maybe £1 or £2 a night, but the point that's been made here is that over the course of time, it can equate to £300, basically a tax on your summer staycation. So there's a couple of things here. I mentioned a few moments ago about how it hits people in the hospitality sector, because they might see people just going, well, there's no point in me coming to this destination because I can't afford to do it, I'm going to have to pay more. But also, the issue here is just another way of taxing hard-working families, all right? And if you decide that you don't want to go to Spain or Cyprus for geopolitical reasons, because the world is in quite a dodgy place at the moment or whatever, and you think, well, I might go on holiday to, I don't know, I might go to Margate or Ramsgate or whatever, this is more money you're going to have to fork out, which goes to the government. And I think a lot of GB News viewers and listeners this morning will be thinking, increasingly, I'm not being taxed until the pips squeak. I'm being taxed until the pips scream.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite the opposite, actually, Kevin, isn't it, really, in terms of what you would expect? Because if you're staying here, you are contributing then to the economy here in the UK. It's going to the exchequer. Surely, rather than penalising you with a £300 tax, they should be offering you incentives to stay in the UK.
Yeah, you should be getting encouraged, really. And it strikes me that it doesn't really take account of the behavioural impact of these taxes. So I can see from the council's point of view, they think, oh, this is just a wee bit extra money coming in. But is it really, though, if it's dissuading people from coming to their area who might otherwise have come and spent money, gone out for meals, etc., but they're just not going to bother now? You think, well, why?
When we go to other countries, very often we have to pay this sort of tax, don't we? It's written in your hotel booking or whatever. But we are Brits going to British places. That doesn't seem fair, does it?
No, it does. It seems to be unfairly punitive, really, I would suggest. Now, it has been tried in other places, Manchester, Liverpool. Apparently Sadiq Khan is thinking about bringing it into London. So it's not as if it hasn't been tried, and clearly these areas would appear to think it works, or certainly the mayors think it works. But yeah, you think of the hospitality industry, as Duncan was saying, who have been absolutely hammered of late anyway, really struggling, restaurants.
Why would you make it worse?
It's massively counterproductive, isn't it? And Kevin is right, because ultimately it's the councils that benefit from this, but the councils will say, well, we need to look at stuff like this because we don't get as much money as we need to from central government. But ultimately, it's someone else who might just want to go for a week somewhere in the United Kingdom with their family. They end up potentially having to pay more to do it. And it's just, it hits people hard already. And I think we're reaching a point in this country where people are just sick to the back teeth of being taxed on everything that they do.
Yeah.
That's what Labour governments do historically, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's the problem, is people already feel that they're paying enough tax, and they just think, God, not another one, you know? They just think, enough's enough.
OK, what if you're clever enough to go to Oxford University?
Yep.
But instead of actually reading a book, which might be a good idea if you're trying for a degree, you just use AI to write your essays for you.
Well, yeah, so Catherine Rundell, who is an award-winning author, has warned that, I mean, it's incredible, really, that because of AI, students can potentially get degrees, she says, in sort of humanities subjects without reading a book. Because you just put into ChatGPT.
I mean, how could the tutors even tell that, you know, OK... They say that there are some telltale signs with AI, but, you know, someone who's alive and awake to what AI does, you know, can just go over it and tweak it a little.
More face-to-face tuition, surely. Yeah. A good tutor, if you actually do more face-to-face tuition, you'd know whether that student is clever enough to write that essay.
Yeah, you would, and you know,
get to know them.
I'm embarrassed to admit that my daughter, who's not a student but she's a pupil at high school, she got caught using ChatGPT to do some homework.
How did they catch her?
Well, she said they had like software, you know, that they can just run it through and they identify. So that's why I'm surprised at this. I thought, but although AI is just continually improving, they've got to try and keep one step ahead. But basically, it put the wind up my daughter.
Could you not ask ChatGPT, was this written by you?
You probably could. I mean, the really disturbing thing about this is it has a massive impact when it comes to learning, because your essay can be produced and written by AI. You haven't read the book, so therefore you have no concept of what a narrative arc is, for example. You have no concept of characters and imagery and all this kind of stuff, because you're not learning it, you've not read it yourself, you're not absorbing it, you're just asking your computer to write an essay about this. And ultimately, I think it's going to make us a dumb nation.
Yes.
100%.
And you wouldn't know whether it's that sort of story has been written before.
Exactly.
By other people.
No, quite. No, you wouldn't.
Maybe you wouldn't care.
Well, it just sort of defeats the purpose of going to university, doesn't it? Especially when you consider the debt that students are taking on. If you're not even going to go and, you know, read a book, then what on earth is it?
You come out with 60 grand's worth of debt and you've had all of your essays written by AI. I mean,
it's just unbelievable.
Then you walk into a job that is also done by AI.
We've got a couple of minutes left. Could we talk about the holistic medicine for pooches?
Yeah, this is... I mean, I know that people love their dogs, and as a nation, we love our pets, obviously, but you look at the prices for... Now, just taking your dog or cat to a vet is punitively expensive. Well, for some dog owners, money is obviously no object. They are going to get things like red light therapy, massages, Reiki, all these sort of homeopathic remedies for their dogs, which last an hour. You want to have a guess at how much that might cost?
Oh, 250 quid.
Oh, not even close, Anne. £834.
Wow. Oh, that's ridiculous.
Well, an initial consultation is only £474. I mean, so... But they say it is... demand is going up and up.
It's a booming market, and it's tapping into people's affection for their pets. I mean, you know, we have a dog. We have a sausage dog called Bertie. I never wanted a dog. Now I wouldn't be without him. He's fantastic. He's a great companion in the pub. And, you know, if someone said, oh, you know, Bertie's got this condition, and if you took him to this particular practitioner, it might make him feel more at ease or whatever, you'll probably look at it, you know?
Go to a dog psychiatrist.
Well, yeah, there's going to be a tipping point at some point. You just go, Bertie, you've just got to crack on.
OK, we'll see you again in the next hour. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you both.
Right now, let's catch up, because we really need to know what the weather is going to be like today. Here's the weather with, well,
Aidan
with our
McGivern, I think.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
Quite right.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there, welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. 30 Celsius today, and believe it or not, today is the coolest day of the bank holiday weekend. Some patchy cloud first thing, but increasingly sunny and increasingly hot. Perhaps the odd shower during the next few hours across East Anglia in the southeast as this area of cloud moves out of the way. And then still some showers tickling parts of the northwest of Scotland through the day, generally light and fleeting. Cloudier for Northern Ireland, Scotland and Northern England. Temperatures not particularly exceptional here, high teens, low 20s. But come further south, and those temperatures are rocketing. We're looking at widely low to mid-20s and high 20s, up to 30 Celsius towards East Anglia and the southeast. High UV. Make sure you are bearing that in mind if you're spending time outdoors. But for Scotland, the cloud cover fairly continuous into the afternoon, breaking up a little by evening, showers tending to fade. And for many parts of the UK, yeah, it's cooler and cloudier in the north, but it's a fine start to the long weekend for the vast majority. Settled with high pressure in charge, and despite some high-level cloud across central parts of the UK, plenty of bright skies to end the afternoon and go into the evening. Clear spells then continue overnight. We will see a weak weather front bring some showery rain once again into the northwest of Scotland and thicker cloud overnight for Northern Ireland as well as Scotland. Highly variable temperatures overnight. Some cool spots where we've got shelter from the breeze, but yeah, in some places, like London for example, temperatures staying up at 18 or 19 Celsius. So head start on Sunday as far as the temperatures are concerned, and widespread sunny skies, certainly a sunnier morning compared with this morning. England and Wales, southern Scotland, blue skies, and temperatures really rising quickly. We're looking at high 20s widely, up to 32 Celsius in the south, always cloudier and cooler the north of Scotland.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. Put a new car on the drive or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Hundreds of illegal migrants are headed for the UK right now.
Yes, GB News can confirm that 2 packed migrant dinghies are en route amid Britain's heatwave.
And there they are now, but 400 arrived yesterday. So just how many can we expect to cross the Channel over this bank holiday weekend?
Yes, with migrants swarming to the UK this weekend, the spotlight is on the government's plan for illegal migration. But will it live up to scrutiny? Find out more with me very soon.
Temperatures are soaring across the UK as parts of the country are expected to exceed temperatures in Barbados. But what does that mean for travel?
We're starting the day with some patchy cloud, even the odd shower. However, it is going to turn increasingly sunny and increasingly hot. This bank holiday weekend could be record-breaking as far as May temperatures are concerned. Full details in the forecast coming up soon.
Meanwhile, with all this glorious weather, families could soon face tourist taxes of up to £300 on UK staycations as councils across England look to cash in on this summer holidays.
Jeremy Clarkson and farming's biggest stars are giving the traditional country show a modern makeover at the Great British Farmfest. We'll be there live very shortly.
Yes, it's Glastonbury meets the Royal Show here in Warwickshire today for Jeremy Clarkson's first ever Farmfest. I'll be speaking to farmers, fans and 1 or 2 famous faces throughout the day.
And John Nichol's latest book, Blitz, retells the horror of Britain's wartime bombing campaign through the eyes of survivors, while asking whether the country still has the resilience to withstand crisis today. We'll speak to him later in the programme. Well, it's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Mark White.
And I'm Anne Diamond.
It's actually just gone 9 o'clock.
Oh, that's true. I didn't notice that. But I am Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Well, sadly, amidst the hilarity of our false time checks, is the sobering news that hundreds more migrants are in the English Channel this morning, attempting to get to the UK. And of course, Anne, that follows the almost 400 who crossed yesterday. And the fact is, we're in 4 days, maybe 5, of ideal conditions in the Channel. And when we get conditions where the winds die down, that's when the migrants cross. Now, there's a couple of aborted attempts, or attempts that were perhaps intercepted by French law enforcement on beaches in Dunkirk. We can show you images from first thing this morning. This is a beach, Marlow, in Dunkirk, where we understand that 1, maybe 2 migrant boats from Belgium set off from Belgian beaches called taxi boats with just a dozen or 2 migrants on board. They come down the coast with a view to picking up, say, another 50 or so on the beach. The migrants will sort of wade out into knee-high water and then clamber on board the vessels. Somehow they were thwarted. Here they are. They're just kind of made off now. They're not getting arrested, Joanne.
No, that's right. They'll just try again then, won't they?
That's exactly what they do. You know, just a day or 2 later, they meet up with the people smugglers and they're just back on another boat. And now we can tell you the very latest is that there are currently 2 boats that have successfully made progress now, steady progress towards the UK. You're looking at the first of those. This is one of these marine apps that anybody can download that gives you waterways around the world, but we're there looking at the English Channel, one of the world's busiest shipping lanes, of course. And the thumbnail on the right-hand side shows the vessel Riddens. That is a French patrol vessel, which is currently escorting what our producer in Dover tells us is a packed migrant dinghy. Another picture we can bring you from again, a marine app that shows another vessel. This is the Flamand, which is also making very steady progress. They're doing between 3 and 5 knots across the channel. And as we speak now, I'm just looking at my marine traffic app, and I can see that the Border Force vessel Ranger has left the port of Ramsgate with a base to come down. Another vessel, a Border Security Command vessel, Intrepid. They've all got very dynamic names, but, you know, how dynamic Intrepid, are they? Because, you know, many people say they just act as a taxi service.
But that's what you were explaining earlier. That's effectively what they're doing, is the minute anyone's in the water, they seem to just escort them to ensure their safety. And escort them to the halfway mark.
Well, that's what the French do, and when they get to that halfway point, our British vessels are there really just to pick them up and take them to the UK.
I mean, it's one thing, and I know it's really annoying our viewers at the moment because you're emailing in to say that it's almost heartbreaking because for so many years now we've actually been talking about this and nothing has been effective. But from a political point of view, it's disastrous for the government, isn't it? Well, we're joined now by GB News' political correspondent, Olivia Utley. I mean, Shabana Mahmood must be tearing her hair out.
She must be tearing her hair out. She's just agreed this multi-million-pound deal with the French to last for 3 years, which is essentially paying for more French police officers to patrol the borders. And it is having some effect. The people smugglers in France are now under more pressure. But the problem is they're just moving over to Belgium. And there are these taxi boats which are taking migrants up the coast, and they can travel from, instead of the usual beaches that they travel on, which are now pretty well patrolled in France, they're travelling from different beaches in France or even from Belgium. And this is always the problem that successive governments come up against when they're dealing with the problem of small boat migrants coming over here. The people smugglers who bring them in are professional career criminals. You just have to look at their social media platforms to see that. They are so slick in their operations, and they're always just a few steps ahead of the government. The government has to work through the system of Parliament, through the system of lawyers, through the system of getting stuff agreed through the House of Lords, etc. And by the time all that's done, these really, really nimble, smart people smugglers are able to completely change their entire operation. We saw something similar in a way with back in 2023, I think it was, when Rishi Sunak was Prime Minister. He agreed a deal with the Albanian government whereby migrants who came here illegally were able to be sent back to Albania. At the time, 70% of the migrants coming to Britain on small boats were Albanian. So you would have thought that that policy would essentially almost solve the problem. That's not what happened. When you kill off one problem, another one just erupts in its place. And that's why this is so difficult. And it just shows the naivety of Keir Starmer's ambition during the general election campaign to smash the gangs. That is much more easily said than done.
You're quite right when you mention just how expert the criminal gangs have become. So much so, Olivia, that they actually employ professional meteorologists to give them up-to-date advice on the optimum weather conditions and tidal conditions to launch these boats. That's how professional this is. It's a multi-billion-pound industry, a global industry. It's like the drugs trade. You know, you can have your successes. Actually trying to stop it is just next to impossible, it seems.
Well, exactly. And I think when one imagines a people smuggling gang, you sort of imagine one big baddie who can be taken out like a drama that you might watch at 9 o'clock on a Saturday night. And that is not the case here. These are so many small gangs, so nimble, moving around all the time. You'll have, you manage to get one head of a people smuggling gang arrested, but another one will pop up in his place. And that is the impossible situation that this government is dealing with. I wonder how Shabana Mahmood will react to the figures that we are bound to see coming through the channel this weekend. A real headache for the Home Secretary, and obviously not made easier for her by the fact that there are plenty of backbenchers who don't actually see the influx of small boats as that big a problem. She's battling them, she's battling these incredibly professional people smugglers. Let's see where she gets to. I wouldn't fancy being the Home Secretary this weekend.
Who's behind them? I mean, I know Keir Starmer talked about smashing the gangs, but the actual men on the beaches who are in charge, presumably, of each dinghy, they're not the real money makers, are they? There must be bigger kingpins behind them.
No, you're absolutely correct there. They are. Some of them are in the UK, others out in the likes of Iraqi Kurdistan and all of these areas. It's a big international enterprise. The tentacles spread into multiple countries, and it's very difficult, you know, to try to get a handle. You might take out one so-called sort of people trafficking kingpin, but there are others there. You know, there are always people willing to step in and make what is phenomenal amounts of money because, you know, if you imagine some of these boats that are crossing have got 80, 90 people on board,
each paying
£3,000 each, at least, for that. That is
yes, a lot of
quite a lot of money.
That's a high margin
just on
business
one boat,
as well.
yeah.
And there's just a constant flow of people who want to be coming to the UK. So whatever deals you agree, there'll always be more who are keen to come. Such a difficult problem.
Yeah, I mean, we're giving the French now £662 million to boost security. It seems that the government, if they want to try and stop the problem in Belgium, might have to do the same with the Belgians.
So far, the government's given £1.3 million to the Belgians, obviously dwarfed in comparison to what's been given to the French. Last year, no migrants came here from Belgium. This year, we've already seen 400. What's it going to be next year?
Yeah, well, it's actually, I think it's even much more than... There's been 33 boat launches, you know, and so you potentially, well, at the very least a couple of dozen if it's a taxi boat, but sometimes more.
And while we are all hoping for a lovely summer, a really good summer, that will just mean more and more boats coming over.
No, exactly right. Well, it's any time the wind dies down, that's what make optimum conditions for the boats to come across the channel.
OK.
So Saturday Morning Live, what are you talking about?
Saturday Morning Live, well, we're going to be talking a little bit more about this. We're going to be talking about fantastic exclusive on the GB News website about those Cypriot bases. Yeah, a really packed show today. Looking forward to it. So come back at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, we'll see you a bit later. Right, are you feeling hot enough? Yesterday was officially the warmest day of the year so far, and it's not looking as though it's going to ease up for a while.
Yeah, the UK is set to welcome a heat wave next week, with temperatures across the nation expected to soar well above 30 Celsius.
And if you're planning on trying to get away this bank holiday weekend, you might want to think again, because as the heat wave arrives, so does a rail strike and engineering works. That's going to make getting around by train really difficult, forcing people, of course, onto the already crowded roads. Meanwhile, families heading for Europe face long queues due to the new EU entry-exit system, where it could be at airports, or it could be on the continent, or it could be at the port of Dover, for instance. Let's find out what the weather has in store for us and why. Here's John Hammond. Good morning, John. Oh, it looks lovely where you are.
Yes, lovely here in Buckinghamshire, Anne, as it is across much of the UK today. And as you mentioned, up into the 30s next few days. I think the peak of the heat today will be across the southeast, 30 degrees possible here. For the rest of us, though, mid to high 20s, which is, pleasantly warm, but not excessively so. But over the next few days, that heat is going to build. And I think it probably will peak on Monday, by which time 33 degrees is entirely feasible across central and southern parts of the UK, but even further north and west, up into the high 20s. What's remarkable is the fact that it's happening in May, because if we reach 33 degrees, that will be an all-time record breaker. And this heat's not going to be a flash in the pan. It's going to continue for the best part of a week. There will be day-to-day variations in where the peak of the heat will be. For example, some western coasts today will be plagued by sea mist, keeping it a good deal cooler. And there could be some sea mist across the east coast early next week. But subtle variations in what is otherwise a a fairly general theme of dry, hot and sunny weather, which is going to last several days.
It's interesting, John, because I'm a bit of a sort of anorak when it comes to monitoring the English Channel. What I've noticed for the first 3-4 months of this year is we've had an extraordinary amount of days when the winds have just been that bit too high for the people smugglers to launch their boats across the Channel. Not been, you know, horrific, but it's just been at that point where it's just been a bit too windy. What do you think is, you know, the underlying issue there? And where now, of course, as you say, we're into this high pressure.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you mentioned earlier on the fact that the people smugglers were employing a professional meteorologist. They haven't got hold of me yet.
I'm sure they'd be well, John.
Maybe they haven't got my number. But yeah, I mean, we've had low pressure. We've had fairly gusty winds for the last, certainly through the first part of May. For many people's sort of senses, May so far has been quite disappointing. It's been quite cool. It's been quite unsettled. That's all about to change over the next week or more. Very light winds, and obviously that could well have implications for the number of small boats which cross the Channel. The weather charts indicate not a lot of wind, certainly for the next week or even longer. The longer term charts, actually, as we go into summer, indicate quite a lot of high pressure, which means A, light winds, and B, pretty high temperatures. So what we don't really want, you know, talking selfishly about the UK and water resources, we don't want to go into a repeat of last year. Remember last year, where it turned into a drought and there were, you know, quite severe water restrictions across parts of the UK. We don't want that, do we? We all like a little bit of fine weather, but months and months and months of dry weather will cause its own problems. As I say, the longer term model suggestions are that the summer will be pretty dry, with a lot of sunshine. That's one to watch.
Oh,
but certainly for the next week or so, Anne, it's sunshine all the way.
You can feel the hosepipe band coming on already, can't you? Thank you so much, John. Enjoy the sunshine while you've got it. That's what we always say, isn't it?
All the best. Cheers, John.
Now, as we were saying earlier, the trouble with good weather and a bank holiday, the mixture of the two, is that you're bound to get travel problems. So let's talk to our travel expert, Simon Calder, who's... Are you still in Dover, Simon, or have you managed to get anywhere?
No, I'm not trying to get anywhere, unlike the poor people who, I'm afraid, Anne, are stuck in great long queues. It's a pretty good definition of the term gridlock this morning. I've been here since, well, obviously 6 o'clock for you. And the big problem is that, well, the entry-exit system, which is the system by which the French and the other Europeans register whether or not you have travelled into the Schengen area, it's the first big test of that system. And unfortunately, it is not going particularly well. The big problem here is that while the Port of Dover and indeed the Eurotunnel terminal at Folkestone, which is also having problems this morning, have invested tens of millions of pounds in new kit, it can't actually be used yet because of French IT problems. And so instead, the French frontier police, who check all of your papers before you leave the UK, so you're still on British soil, but you're effectively checked into France, that is taking a very long time. And as a result of that, well, the queues are stretching a very long way back down the A20 behind me. Also, I'm looking across at Jubilee Way, the A2, and that's not looking very good. Lots of coaches as well as trucks stuck in there. And, well, frankly, Dover is saying it's going to take you 90 minutes to get through the passport control, but that's only when you've made it into the entrance of the Port of Dover. And as you can perhaps see from the traffic behind me, not very much is moving very fast at all. So a miserable weekend, I'm afraid, for thousands of families who are simply trying to get away. Some of them, indeed, thinking, oh, well, we want to avoid the airports because of all the possible problems with jet fuel shortages. By the way, there aren't any. And of course, if you are flying out to a holiday hotspot, then if it's in Europe, you're still going to have to go through the entry-exit system. It might be lovely. Palma de Mallorca is looking good, but other airports, including Milan, are awful.
Oh dear, Simon, I hope you get out of there at some point, because it's very difficult when you're in one of those traffic jams.
Yeah.
To turn around and come back.
Thanks very much, Simon.
Thank you.
You can see the White Cliffs behind him. Our producer is now on the White Cliffs at his vantage point for filming the migrant boats when he comes in, but it took him an hour and a half to just get a couple of miles through the traffic there. He is going to send us some images, actually, of the traffic jams from that higher vantage point. As soon as we get them, we'll get them to you. You'll see what the motorists and those trying to get out of the UK are up against today.
Well, if you're trying to get anywhere today, I do hope you manage and don't get too hot in the car. Let's get a check on the weather throughout Britain. Here is Aidan McGinn.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there, welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. 30 Celsius today, and believe it or not, today is the coolest day of the bank holiday weekend. Some patchy cloud first thing, but increasingly sunny and increasingly hot. Perhaps the odd shower during the next few hours across East Anglia in the southeast as this area of cloud moves out of the way. And there's still some showers tickling parts of the northwest of Scotland through the day, generally light and fleeting. Cloudier for Northern Ireland, Scotland and Northern England. Temperatures not particularly exceptional here, high teens, low 20s. But come further south, and those temperatures are rocketing. We're looking at widely low to mid 20s and high 20s, up to 30 Celsius towards East Anglia and the southeast. High UV. Make sure you are bearing that in mind if you're spending time outdoors. But for Scotland, the cloud cover fairly continuous into the afternoon, breaking up a little by evening, showers tending to fade. And for many parts of the UK, yeah, it's cooler and cloudier in the north, but it's a fine start to the long weekend for the vast majority. Settled with high pressure in charge, and despite some high-level cloud across central parts of the UK, plenty of bright skies to end the afternoon and go into the evening. Clear spells then continue overnight. We will see a weak weather front bring some showery rain once again into the northwest of Scotland and thicker cloud overnight for Northern Ireland as well as Scotland. Highly variable temperatures overnight, some cool spots where we've got shelter from the breeze, but yeah, in some places, like London for example, temperatures staying up at 18 or 19 Celsius. So head start on Sunday as far as the temperatures are concerned, and widespread sunny skies, certainly a sunnier morning compared with this morning. England and Wales, southern Scotland, blue skies, and temperatures really rising quickly. We're looking at high 20s widely, up to 32 Celsius in the south, always cloudier and cooler the north of Scotland.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
22 minutes past 9, still to come on the programme. It's Jeremy Clarkson's Farmfest this weekend, and we're going to be there. We'll have all the latest after the break.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Now,
Well, welcome back.
British Farmfest
It is.
going on in Warwickshire. 3 days of farming and livestock and good old-fashioned countryside chaos. I used to love it.
Yeah.
I used to love doing outside broadcasts from the Royal Show in Warwickshire, always under an umbrella. Anyway, it's going to be hosted by Jeremy Clarkson and Caleb and Lisa and all of the other farming stars from Clarkson's Farm. And there, to suss it all out for us, is GB News' entertainment reporter Alex Davis, who's going to be... Ooh!
Just in time for the sheep shearing.
Yeah, tell us what's going on.
Yeah, well, the last thing you need on a day like today with this hot weather is a big fleece. So here we're with Amy and Daniel, who are showing us just how quick they get through their sheep shearing, a vital part of any British farm. Yes, we are at Farmfest today, like you say. It's going to be a weekend of live music, food, livestock, basically shining a spotlight on all things about British agriculture. Jeremy Clarkson and the Clarkson's Farm team are hosting, but, you know, he runs his farm in Oxfordshire, but you can't run a farm without the important people behind the scenes here, and one of them joins me now. This is Amy. Welcome to GB News.
Thank you very much.
Just tell us, why is shearing so important to any farm?
It's really important to farmers and animal health. The sheep need shearing every single year. Keep their bodies in good condition. Oh, God. And
hard work, by the sounds of it.
it's a very physical job, but
Yeah.
it's a very, very rewarding job.
And tell us about, we spoke just before the camera started rolling, about a world record you're going to attempt. Tell us all about that.
I'm going to try and set a 2-stand women's world record, 8 hours use. Going to have a go. Yeah, I did one a couple of years ago, and I just want another one. I love a certificate.
And how many ewes will you get through in those 8 hours, or how many ewes are you planning to get through in those 8 hours?
I mean, in an ideal world, the current record is 465. So anything above that, 468, 500, who knows? But
And how does that work out per minute?
it's about 57 seconds a sheep.
My goodness.
Hours, yeah.
Honestly, and you do it all, like you said, we see the shearers there taking on another couple of shearers there. It is really physical work, isn't it?
Very much. I think, don't quote me, but I think it's one of the most physical jobs in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. And obviously, Jeremy Clarkson is the face of today's Farmfest. Yeah. Just a word on him. What's he done for British farming? Do you think he's been a fantastic pioneer?
I do. I really do think that he's done great things. He's opened the other half of the world, you know, the townies, if you will, open their eyes to the fact that farming is quite essential. And he's made it fun too. Yeah.
And you're here with Hand to Shear as well. Tell us about what you guys do.
Yeah, so we try and concentrate on countries that can't really... There's a shortage of shearers all over the world, right? So we try and get around and shear in places that can't necessarily get shearers, like the Balkans and sort of out-of-the-way countries like that.
Amazing. Well, it's fantastic work. Thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you for demonstrating all the hard work you guys do. Yes. Thank you. We'll be here for the rest of the day speaking to vendors and farmers just like Amy, and hopefully some famous faces throughout the day.
Yeah, you've got a great day for it as well. I bet those sheep are really pleased to be rid of all that fleece.
Yeah, were you sheared a little earlier? It looks like it.
Oh, don't be cheeky.
I've been sheared for a few years, Mark. Sheared for a few years this week.
Yeah. Well, watch you
You're
don't
looking
get too
good on it.
sunburned. Absolutely. It's nice to be able to say that in Britain, isn't it? Careful of the sunburn.
Yes, indeed.
OK, let's go into the Great British Giveaway now. There's still plenty of time to grab your chance to win a whopping amount of money, all tax-free, which makes it even better, doesn't it? Here's how to take part.
£76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash could be yours this summer. That's totally tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. What would you spend it on? Treat the family and friends to the ultimate summer party, or just relax with enough cash in the bank to make this year your best yet. And remember, because it's totally tax-free cash, you'll get to keep every single penny. So what are you waiting for? For a chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Right, it's 9:30 exactly. Do stay with us because the author, John Nichol, will be joining us to discuss his new book. He writes so many books. This one's called Blitz, and it is literally about that. Coming up.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Right, what's the time? It's 9:34. Now, you'll probably know this man, very, very well known as an author now, but he was once an RAF navigator. He's John Nichol. He's released his latest book, and it's called Blitz.
Yes, of course. In it, John, you talk about the challenges that Londoners faced, in particular, of course, during the Blitz, and whether, as a nation, we would be as resilient now. I mean, just talk us through, if you would, because it is fascinating, just the level, the intensity of the bombardment that London, in particular, was facing during that period of time. How long did it last for, and, you know, how intense was it?
Thank you, Mark. Hi again, Anne. Nice to see you.
Lovely to see you.
The whole point about the book, Mark, is that you mentioned London there, and of course, that's the reality of what most people think. They think London, a few months between around Christmas 1940, that was the Blitz. But that's not the story that I'm telling. I'm telling the story that, you know, GB News would tell, which is the story of the whole nation. So not London, we're talking about Coventry, people will remember that. We're talking about Glasgow, we're talking about Aberdeen, we're talking about Exeter. And I'm telling the story of the war. So yes, thousands were killed in London during those few months, dreadful months in around Christmas 1940. But 60,000 civilians perished during the whole course of the war. And again, we talk about when the Blitz started, when the Blitz ended. If you were being bombed in Glasgow or you were being bombed in Newcastle, so that image you've got on screen now is my mum's hometown. That is the picture of an air raid shelter in my mum's hometown. And if she'd been in that shelter, I wouldn't be with you today. But I found a survivor.
Where is it?
So that is in North Shields, on the banks of the Tyne, as you come down outside Newcastle. So that image that you've got there, that kind of sparked the story that I tell of the nation in the book. So that was the Wilkinson's air raid shelter. It was a local air raid shelter about 300-400 yards from where my mum lived. But my mum never talked about the war, as so many of that generation did. They never spoke about it at all. But she did say one thing. She said there'd been a terrible incident in North Shields, where I grew up, and I knew nothing about this. And as I started my investigations, I found what that terrible incident was. And it was the night of the 3rd, 4th of May, 1941. And the air raid sirens went in North Shields. My mum, my grandmother had said, we'll never go to an air raid shelter. If we die, we will die together at home. And so they didn't go. But 192 people, Mark, went to that air raid shelter, 192.
That's
just after midnight.
Sorry, that is so fascinating because, you know, I'm not far from you. I'm from the Scottish borders, you know, not far from Jedburgh, you know, right down the A68 and off down to North Shields. I never knew that North Shields had been blitzed as well, but, you know...
What was the reason? What was being made? Were there factories that were making aircraft, or why would there bombed...
It was the Tyne, Anne. So the Tyne was a massive, heavy industry, especially shipbuilding. And so, like Glasgow, like Liverpool, like those big industrial towns, it became a target for the bombers.
That's right. My father was living in Clydebank, where, of course, the shipping industry was making
really
ships.
Bad.
And it was 2 days, 12,000 houses were damaged, and look, 12,000 houses were destroyed. Only 8 out of 12,000 remained undamaged.
Wow.
35,000 people killed. I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah, Glasgow bombing in a couple of nights, March 1941. I think it was 1,000 people died by the time the war had finished. 2,500 people had been killed and 8,000 injured in and around Scotland. But Clydebank was battered because, again, of the industrial areas. And so that image of the air raid shelter, a bomb hit the roof of that air raid shelter and brought... it was a fizzy drinks factory, the Wilkinson's lemonade factory. And it brought all of the equipment in. And that one night, one building, one incident, 107 people died in one building.
I mean, you make the point
Civilians.
there. It wasn't just London. People think of the Blitz. They think of... There were lots of cities that were blitzed. What did Blitz mean?
So it comes from the German term Blitzkrieg, which means lightning war. And it was a term that was used for the way that the Germans launched war, so the invasion of Poland, a lightning war, hitting it with everything. It became a term, in actual fact, it became a term much more the Blitz. People didn't really talk about it quite in those terms then. And they certainly didn't talk. If you go online, you will find historical websites which will say the Blitz ended 85 years ago this month. 85 years ago, the Blitz ended.
Gosh.
Well, if you died in the bombing under the V2 rockets, the original ballistic missiles, if you died under them in March 1945, just a few weeks before the end of the war, you didn't say, your family didn't say, oh, well, they didn't die in the Blitz. So that's the story I'm trying to redefine now. It wasn't London, it wasn't a few months, it was the whole nation and for the whole of the war.
Yeah. That's fascinating. Listen, honestly, I'm going to buy your book because I think this. But I honestly think this is just the kind of information that so many people don't. I was aware of other locations, Coventry, absolutely, and Clydebank, but I didn't know that. Areas up in Northumberland and all these areas were also attacked.
Yeah, but the market towns, if you go to 1942, the Baedeker raid. So the Germans got hold of the tourist guide. It was called Baedeker's Great Britain Handbook for Travellers. And they used that tourist guide to attack our cathedral cities. Thousands died. Nobody knows about these stories. So that's what I'm trying to tell.
And what number book is it? I mean, how many books have you now written?
Well, Anne, do you know anybody on that set today who interviewed me for my very first book, Tornado Down?
That was obviously Anne, was it?
Well, it was absolutely Anne.
Yeah.
34 years ago, Anne.
Wow.
And you interviewed me on one of the afternoon programs or one of the morning programs.
Yeah.
And this is book number 20.
Wow, well done.
But can you imagine, you and your viewers will remember those images of myself and John Peters as prisoners of war 35 years ago. Or as my wife says, 35 years and 4 stone ago. Can you imagine?
That's a bit unfair, but yes,
well,
I
she's
get
listening.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that we'd be talking about another 20 books? I mean, I've been so lucky, and
well, you were in the RAF, as you said, and you were shot down so appallingly. And but my goodness, have you invented a whole new career for yourself over the last 30 years since that all happened?
I mean, do you know what? I've been so lucky.
Yeah, you're lucky, but you convey history, that very important history.
So enthusiastically as well is great.
Absolutely. Congratulations. We shall read Blitz. Thank you.
Thank you. Big respect to you, John. Cheers.
Absolutely. My goodness. By the way, I said 35,000 people were killed in the Clydebank Blitz. They were made homeless.
Right, sure.
It was fewer were killed, but enough. It was terrible. My father said to his mother just before the Clydebank Blitz, he said, I want to go and join up. I'm going to be a pilot. Oh, right. And she said, you're not going. It's an English war. It's an English war. It's nothing to do with us up here in Scotland. And he said, well, you wait till they bomb Clydebank. And they did.
Yes.
Savagely, too.
So OK, still to come will be, getting an update on the migrant situation and also looking at the terrible traffic down in Dover. We'll have the paper review, all that coming up after the weather.
looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
A lot of sunny and hot weather across the Med and Western Europe at the moment, especially for Spain and France. Very showery, however, with low pressure close to Greece and Turkey. Long spells of rain for Turkey. Greek islands mostly sheltered from the showers, but heavy downpours for mainland Greece. 1 or 2 showers for Italy, but we come to Iberia and France, and it's unusually hot and sunny during the next few days. Temperatures peaking in France into the mid to high 30s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's a Lancaster, the mightiest aerial engine of destruction ever conceived and built.
It's one of the most famous aircraft in the world. During World War II, Lancaster bombers filled the skies of Lincolnshire as they completed missions across Europe and further afield. Over the last few years, GB News has followed the Bomber County Gateway Trust and their mission to immortalise this iconic plane for centuries to come. 8 years after the idea was born, members of the public have been given a glimpse of the sculpture on Freedom's wings up close for the first time. GB News viewers helped raise thousands of pounds for the project, which was led by the Trust's chairman, Charlie White.
I'm really, really pleased. You know, it's been one of these things that, like I say, for the last 8 years we've been working on. And to sort of finally get it up and sort of here today, so sort of have a dedication for it. Yeah, it's so special. The idea when we sort of put it up here 8 years ago was that people could drive down the A side of the A46 and see it and just make them smile. You know, the welcome home to Lincolnshire or welcome back into Nottinghamshire. We think it's, you know, it's an over £1 million project with sort of over £500,000 raised, sort of public donations and sponsorship. It's people that have come along and wanted to help. They have some connection with the military or the RAF and they just wanted to be part of it.
The design is based on Lancaster VNN, which crashed on its return to RAF Swinderby in September 1942 after both portside engines failed. Weighing more than 100 tonnes and taller than the Angel of the North, this sculpture welcomes people into Bomber County. This site will officially open for visitors later in the summer, inspiring future generations and ensuring we don't forget the sacrifices of Bomber Command.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Welcome back.
Now, absolute carnage down in Dover in terms of all the traffic. Look at these images shot by our producer down in Dover from the cliff tops, looking at huge queues of freight traffic, but also these new controls that are in place because of the situation, you know, after Brexiting the European Union. I think we can speak to Will Godley, our reporter, who is now down in the thick of it. Will.
Mark, and good morning. Yeah, the port of Dover saying the queues this morning exceeding 2 hours for passengers attempting to get into the port. This is, of course, the first holiday, the first peak season where they've been implementing this new EES system, the French border patrols there, and that's what's causing all of these queues this morning. We've been caught up in it as well, just coming through Dover, a journey that should have been 5 minutes, taking nearly half an hour as gridlock traffic gripping the town here of Dover. But it's not just activity when it comes to people leaving the port here. We'll be focusing on today because Border Force officials preparing for 2 small boat arrivals later today. As you've been reporting this morning, there are 2 small boats in the channel at the moment, the nearest about 40 minutes from UK waters, where it will be picked up by a UK Border Force vessel. Now, one of these small boats set off from the Dunkirk beaches, the other one from Gravelines beach in France. They both have between 80 and 90 people on board, escorted by French Navy vessels this morning as they're heading towards British waters. Of course, as the people smugglers taking advantage of this very nice warm weather, this bank holiday weather. It's beautifully warm here in Dover this morning, and looking over my shoulder I can just see how calm the seas are glistening behind me. Winds died right down. It's the perfect conditions for these small boat crossings, and of course it has been very, very quiet in the channel, not when it comes to shipping traffic, but when it comes to small boat crossings. There haven't been any for the last 2 weeks. That was up until yesterday, though, when, Mark, you were reporting yesterday, just under 400 small boat arrivals came here yesterday. We're expecting much more today.
Well, you're in prime position to be able to bring us all those latest arrivals, and I think the first of those small boats just making the line now into UK waters, so about an hour away, and that first migrant boat will be with you. Thanks very much, Will.
Well, we've been joined all morning by the politics editor of HuffPost UK, Kevin Schofield, and political commentator Duncan Bartz. We haven't really got time to look at the newspapers, but just wonder what your thoughts are on what we've been reporting all morning with the illegal crossings.
With illegal crossings, I mean, that's unsurprising. It shows, again, that no matter what government I think we've got, whatever they put in place, it's not stopping the boats. The government no longer talk about smashing the gangs. That's been disbanded, I think, as far as I can tell.
And isn't it time politicians stop pretending that a slogan or just one thing will stop?
Well, we've fallen into this trap, haven't we? We saw it with Rishi Sunak, and his little lectern with his words on there, and we've seen it with the current Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. I think, politicians in this country... Well, I like the way you call
him current Prime Minister.
Yeah, that was intentional.
Is that just to remind him that,
I think they need to fess up with the general public and say that, and be quite honest, that what's been put in place over the last 2 years simply has not worked. No question about it. And we can all see it.
And pulling an idea out of the air or a slogan doesn't fool anyone.
Well, a slogan, it maybe gets you through a general election campaign, which was the whole point of Smash the Gangs. It was so you could hammer it home again and again in debates with Rishi Sunak, etc. In much the same way as Duncan says, Rishi Sunak's slogan was "Stop the boats," and that became an albatross around his neck. And I think Smash the Gangs is going exactly the same way.
Exactly the same. And the one in, one out.
Yep.
And you'll know, Kevin, that it was absolutely the small boats that did for the Conservatives.
Yep.
And despite what this current government might say about not necessarily acknowledging the depth of anger that there is around the country, uncontrolled and illegal migration, it may well do for this government too.
Well, I think so, because we saw figures earlier in the week about net migration actually coming down, but the polling showed that well over half the public think it's going up. And that's because people see the small boats continuing to come and they think, well, you're not getting to grips with immigration because you're not getting to grips with that, and that's the problem that the government's got.
One of our lovely viewers, Bill, has said, why is everything this government does the opposite of what they should do?
Well, I think it's a lesson in politics, isn't it? Because in opposition, Labour spend a lot of time just saying to the Conservatives, you haven't got any ideas, you've run out of ideas, we come in, we're going to do X, Y and Z, suggesting that running the country is a really easy thing. And do you remember that phrase that was knocking around? Oh, look now, the adults are now in charge. Well, these so-called so-called adults are finding it a lot harder than I think they anticipated.
Very true.
Well, look, thank you very much for being with us this morning. Sorry we didn't get an awful lot of time to go through the papers but there's a lot going on today. And that's it from Mark and me for the moment. But coming up next is Saturday Morning Live with Olivia and Charlie, who are just over there.
I can only imagine what's going to be on your agenda, guys.
Hello. Yes, we have got a packed show coming up. We will be talking about those small boats that are coming over here and the political implications of that. What is the Home Secretary going to do about it? Also, be talking about this fascinating report on the front of the Times today. The Labour Tsar for Employment is saying, basically, young people so caught up in their phones, obsessed with social media, they just don't have the skills it takes to get into the workplace. So the workplace is going to have to change. What do you think about that?
We'll also be discussing the latest political moves in Bradford in West Yorkshire, because there's been a change in control there. We now have Reform in charge of Bradford Council, and their new leader has said that they want the national inquiry into grooming gangs to come up to Bradford, and they've said, investigate us or we will do it ourselves. So that's a major intervention. We'll be speaking to David Greenwood, who's a lawyer who's represented many grooming gang victims about that issue. It's been campaigned on for the best part of a decade now, and finally there has been some movement.
And we'll be talking about Prince William crying at the football. Is football the only way that men can express their emotions? Or maybe it's quite a healthy way? Do let us know what you think about that. All of that at 10 o'clock.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there, welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. 30 Celsius today, and believe it or not, today is the coolest day of the bank holiday weekend. Some patchy cloud first thing, but increasingly sunny and increasingly hot. Perhaps the odd shower during the next few hours across East Anglia in the southeast as this area of cloud moves out of the way. And there's still some showers tickling parts of the northwest of Scotland through the day, generally light and fleeting. Cloudy